I do a few different things for a living. I teach personal protection. I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I do mindset coaching for professional athletes, and I speak against bullying. I talk at schools, speak to young kids, colleges, corporations. But my most important job of all is mom. I have 2 young boys who are absolutely everything to me, and I'm teaching them how to be men.
Iga City, Japan, the spiritual home of the ninja, and a lesson from the master himself.
I believe in the way of the warrior. I believe in being tested, in being in situations that are uncomfortable. This experience is another tool for me. I'm intense, and I can either crush everybody's spirit just with my energy, or I can lift everybody up. Let's get the mission accomplished. Let's survive. But there's some strengths in being a woman, so I'm just trying to take everything in and just use the strengths that I do have, which is I have very strong situational awareness.
Unmuted?
Yep.
Hey! We managed to make it. Welcome to JoyScore, another episode. We have a couple of wonderful guests for you. Remember what JoyScore is, why we're here. We're here to come up with techniques so that when we step in a difficult circumstance, we can see the world through a fresh pair of eyes and maintain our well-being and our health and be of service. And that's really what this whole game is about over here at JoyScore. And we have 3 wonderful guests. We have a couple of filmmakers, and we have a mixed martial artist, jiu-jitsu fighter, Wonder Woman, social advocate for anti-bullying, star of the show Ultimate Ninja Challenge, right?
Ultimate Ninja Challenge.
Ultimate Ninja Discovery Channel. So she's fresh off that show. We have her here in the studio, and wow, this woman is crazy. Crazy.
She's a motivator. I'm excited.
She is a motivator. She's gonna blow the doors off us in here in a few minutes. We'll have her in the studio. How are you, Suzanne Toro? We have the lovely Suzanne Toro with us tonight.
I'm doing great.
Us with her presence, and we have all sorts of wonderful things that we're doing over here. We have a couple of books. We have Danielle Martin's book.
We have Danielle Martin's book.
Do you see that, Thomas?
Right there.
You got her? There you go.
Yeah. True from the inside out.
True from the inside out. It's a very intimate look into her life and a lot of lessons that she's learned throughout. It's more of a memoir. Yeah, you can raise it up a little bit. There you go. And then we have We have Dr. Bob's book.
Dr. Bob's book. Yeah, this is edition number 1. Number 2 will be out shortly.
There you go. And these are practical tools to help us navigate the world we live in. And then we got Suzanne Toro's book.
And then we got Suzanne Toro's book. This is like a book-a-rama today.
Yay! And now we have our camera that just dropped. We have
all right, we'll have to. Oh, we can't see it. I don't know where we are, but
half an inch. You got it. There you go.
And there's Bare Naked Bliss, and then we have Tinker, the movie, and all those links are put above on both pages. JoyScore at Suzanne Toro Official and at thomasardavany.
Look at this stupid camera. Look at this.
All right, we'll get it fixed.
So what did we learn about JoyScore this week?
What did we learn about JoyScore? I think
attitude is everything. Hey, where'd you get that? Attitude is everything.
That's what Thomas said. Attitude is everything. Which you're absolutely correct, Thomas. You're always correct.
Well, as far as that goes, I mean, how do you go wrong with a good attitude, right?
You don't go wrong. It makes life a lot easier. If you say enjoy, it makes things a lot easier.
I like the gay way into it, though. You know, gratitude can get us into a good attitude.
Gratitude's a good pathway to change your attitude for sure.
It is. It absolutely is. And so that's and also that fearless factor. A couple weeks ago, we hit on the fearless factor. Yeah,
fearless. I think both of those gratitude will help you enter the gateway of joy, and then also the memory of what joy feels like too. I think a lot of people get too caught up in maybe their suffering or their little things in life that cause them angst. but if we can remember those things that make us feel free, it might be surfing, it might be dancing, it might be a wide variety of things that can bring that joy back pretty effortlessly.
Well, I mean, you still got effortlessly, but welcome. I mean, a very welcoming way to feel that freedom that comes along with just being okay with everything.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Life kind of says roll with everything, doesn't it?
We're here learning how to surf this thing called life.
Yeah, baby.
You know?
Yeah, baby.
Even in the most arduous times, I mean, I can attest sometimes those are the most magical moments if you can bring awareness there, like present moment. Okay, yeah, this isn't so comfortable, but wow, what's going on around me? Because I'm supposed to be here. I might as well sip it up.
Yeah, there seems a pattern happening with a lot of these guests. You can start to see like some of the basic principles, gratitude being one of them, a sense of fearlessness being another one, and also the influences that these people have had to look up to. There's always seemed to be a brother or a coach or a teacher that somehow impacted them in such a way that it got them on a track or it got them wishing to be like that. And I didn't really reflect on how important that was, but it seems to be coming up with most of the guests. So fearless factor, mentor.
Motivator, I would say. That mentor is a motivator that really gets you going.
Even Chris Von Hoffman last week was saying, hey, my older brother tormented me, and therefore I am a hard director. And he taught me how to suffer properly.
We watched that. He definitely is.
Definitely is. So we've got Danielle Martin coming into the studio here in just a couple of minutes.
So how's your joy score this week, Thomas?
Good. I mean, I'm excited to be here. Every time I'm in here, my joy score goes way up. I'm always interested in seeing how this little moment's going to unfold for us here in this station, because these guests bring in so much, and it's up to us to allow them to sort of share that and then build on it.
Right.
And I'm always interested to see how we're going to build on this thing.
Absolutely.
Like what moments are going to be revealed that trigger certain things in me that allow me to learn. I need to learn too. I mean, these are all teachable moments, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think we've both taken away. What things have you taken away that stick out in your mind right in this moment from our guests that we've had thus far?
Well, I've known these people, both, I mean, I've known...
Well, not these guests, but the ones we've had before. What's, like, one thing you can remember from one of the Joy Score episodes?
Well, I think I've been talking about them since, for the last several minutes. We talked about the fearless factor.
Right.
We talked about mentoring, like a lot of these guys need, finding mentors to look up to. We're talking about and they all have a practice. There's always something that they find their way to get back to zero. I'm noticing that through like 80% of all of the guests, even the young ones, have a way of pulling themselves back, putting the phone down, and just listening to themselves be. And that seems to be another through line, which makes perfect sense, because without taking that break and without being able to reset, we're definitely at a disadvantage in terms of being able to see really what's going on around us and what's going on inside of us, not to be so reactive, but to be more proactive to the truth of what's actually happening and be able to make good choices and take good actions from that place. And those are huge lessons that they're bringing us. Danielle Martin is a public speaker, talks on a motivational speaker, ex-pro surfer, jiu-jitsu teacher, black belt. I think she's
mother.
She black belt now? I think
black belt. She's a black belt.
Black belt jiu-jitsu. I mean, you realize how much work you got to put in to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu? It should choke you out in a New York second. A New York second, not even a New York minute. It should choke you out in a New York second. And it's great that she's educating everybody on how to take care of themselves, how to basic self-defense. She teaches, and that's awesome. Martial arts are an integral part of anybody's journey. If they want to get up off the couch and re-engage their body, mind, and spirit, martial arts is the way to go for sure. But just like anything else, you need a great teacher. And if you don't have a teacher that's in touch with the core principles of the truth, you can hurt yourself and it can be a discouraging experience. But with Danielle, I've had the pleasure of working with her as an actress, so you were
her teacher too.
Yeah. I still am. we still do work on some of the stuff that she's got coming up.
Nice.
That book there, I guess, is going to be a movie. So some producer picked up the rights to that book, and they're looking to make that thing into a movie. So hopefully she'll star in her own movie. Well, let's Thomas, do you have? I mean, I know our thing went haywire over there, but do you have her?
Yeah, we played it. We're going to play it again.
We're just going to play this little promo one more time, and then we're going to get Danielle in the studio.
So our sound is a little wonky. We're getting comments from the guests, so maybe before we get in here, you could just test it out a little bit.
What's up with the sound?
It's cracked. It wasn't like the last event broadcast.
Okay, how about now?
Is that better? Test. I can't even really hear myself. Test.
That's all right.
Can you hear me?
I got you. I mean, we get adjusted levels. We'll be okay. So let's play it, and here comes Danielle Martin.
I do a few different things for a living. I teach personal protection. I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I do mindset coaching for professional athletes, and I speak against bullying. I talk at schools, speak to young kids, colleges, corporations. But my most important job of all is mom. I have 2 young boys who are absolutely everything to me, and I'm teaching them how to be men.
Iga City, Japan, the spiritual home of the ninja, and a lesson from the master himself.
I believe in the way of the warrior. I believe in being tested, in being in situations that are uncomfortable. This experience is another tool for me. I'm intense, and I can either crush everybody's spirit just with my energy, or I can lift everybody up. Let's get the mission accomplished. Let's survive. But there's some strengths in being a woman, so I'm just trying to take everything in and just use the strengths that I do have, which is I have very strong situational awareness.
Let me know when they're live. Hey, we got Danielle Martin in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. She's here. We got Wonder Woman. I wonder about this woman all the time. Here she is.
We have Linda Carter in the house.
What is up with Wonder Woman? What inspired that? Was it actually because you were reading for Wonder Woman because they were looking for a Wonder Woman for like 15 years? Is that what the story is of that thing?
Exactly. No, you know what? I actually time ago, 15 years ago, and then I got a call to come and read for the Wonder Woman this time. So I didn't read for Wonder Woman's. She had already made an appearance on Superman versus Batman, maybe, whatever that movie was.
Right.
So they'd already chosen her, but they actually asked me to come in and maybe be one of the Amazons. But when I did, they were like, okay, you have the light eyes and the dark hair, and our Wonder Woman doesn't, but we can't have you next to her. So
I apologize to interrupt. The gain is still bad. Our sound's a little wonky. You're fine. But
I hear it.
How about now? Keep talking.
Better.
Keep testing.
All right.
Let's test. Yeah.
Go ahead. Test now.
We can sing
Testing.
our ABCs.
That's a lot better.
Is that better for you?
Yeah.
Well, it has to do with really how it makes it to the board
Is
over there. So what we're
better?
hearing is not always.
Yes, better. Okay, what you just did is better.
Is it better? Yeah. Okay, good.
It's great.
Woohoo.
All right, good. Woohoo!
Welcome.
At first, I was like, what?
What? That's funny because I'm having a hard time hearing, but it doesn't really matter as long as we hear her and you got me. That's what matters. You got that? Are we hearing it?
It's all good. Keep talking.
All right, let's get back
it's
to
better.
Let's get back.
All right, let's rock and roll. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you.
So that's our Wonder Woman story. But more importantly, you kind of are Wonder Woman. You kind of embody these superpowers, and you're kind of like spreading those powers all over San Diego. What else you got going on? We know what you got going on, but tell us what else you got going on to be the actual embodiment of Wonder Woman in terms of a civilian. What does that look like?
Well, doing the personal protection kind of been this big umbrella, and it's evolved into so many different things that I don't really try to plan it, have a cap on it. I don't live in a box with it. It doesn't really have like this major definition. It just started with talking to kids about anti-bullying and talking to them about their strengths and weaknesses and how to maximize their strengths physically, emotionally, mentally. And it's just one thing's led to the next, and I've gotten asked to do all these different things. You know,
that's a lot of things that you skip through. So what does that look like when you go talk to a bunch of kids? I mean, how are you preparing them? What are you saying to kids these days?
I'm just talking to kids about, real talk. I don't have, the way when people talk about confidence or these things, we all have a different definition of what confidence is. Like, what is confidence and defined to me is very different to you, Tom, or you. I think everybody's going to have their own definition of what these things are. So understanding everybody's language and understanding where they're at and being able to see their weaknesses, see their strengths, and give them tools to help them maximize those things and understand that they're not alone. I had kind of an interesting childhood. I had a lot of adversity. And when you go in and you talk real to them, you speak to certain people. And, after a seminar like that, kids are lined up and they're telling you their story and they're sharing with you. So when I'm able to have them line up like that and I can individually hear every one of them and kind of give them the mentality if it's bullying, let them understand the mentality of a bully and what that other person's thinking.
All right. So I'm being bullied at work when I go to work. Danielle, what do I do? I mean, the producers pick on me and then they threaten me with my job and then they don't want to pay me as much. So how would you guide me into like making that a better situation?
Do a better job. Ask for more money. And
no, I'm serious.
No,
adults being bullied all the time.
You know what?
Right?
Adults are bullied more than kids are. Actually, when I speak at corporations,
you can
there's
just
more
go
bullying.
on the internet right now and be bullied, I'm sure.
There's way more bullying for adults than there is kids, and it's worse because we don't have our parents to run home to. We had to figure it out.
How are you defining bully?
Bully is somebody that's stepping in somebody else's space and making them uncomfortable, and flexing on them in the wrong ways that make them feel good.
What's a wrong way to flex?
Bullies are cowards. They're instigative cowards. They're insecure people that it makes them feel bigger and better to put somebody else down. So flexing, whether they're saying something on the internet poorly or, you have a lot of times women that are in CEO positions at these corporations and they feel like they need to be masculine. And women, our biggest power is on our soft side. So when we're acting masculine in an environment, you start creating a dangerous environment because you have these guys that are working these cubicles and they're getting flexed on by this chick. And then the guys get pissed and people wonder why people show up with a gun at work or something. So we can elaborate for hours on that type of thing. But
you can elaborate if you want, but there must got to be a reason why you're so sensitive to it.
I'm sensitive to it, I think, because I was bullied as a kid. I think each one of us were bullied in different ways. So
what are we going to do without a bully? That'd be no fun.
I
mean, what's
there'd be nobody for me to beat. No,
right?
Look at her. I'm going to bully you back.
Yeah, I'm the bully's karma. I come around in a bully. I'm like, yay! I see dinner.
Sword.
Yeah, I see a dinner plate. But no, I'm very sensitive to it. I think that people get knocked off their path of greatness when they've been bullied or they don't understand how to stand up to one. And if you just give people some tools and a different mindset, they're able to recognize it.
What tools in the mindset are you serving up?
First, intuition. Intuition is our first line of defense in anything and everything. It's that voice inside of us. It's the goosebumps.
Run?
For some people. No, I think if we're talking physically, yeah, you always want to try.
Defense or offense?
For intuition?
Yeah, like is your first line of defense or offense?
It's your first line of defense and offense, depending on how you look at it. It's that voice inside you. For religious people, they call it be the Holy Spirit. If you just, whatever, depend on what you believe in, it's that voice inside of you. It's the emotion that comes from kind of, your furnace down in your stomach when you're feeling something or the hair stands up on your neck or you walk by somebody and you get that feeling and then you're like, why am I judging that person? And you start beating yourself up and untalking yourself out of the situation when really that's your intuition telling you something and you should be paying attention to it.
Absolutely.
The next tool, after that is the situational awareness. And in life, situational awareness makes us better people if we can pick our heads up from our iPhones and notice things. Like this generation has been so disabled of basic social skills because of the iPhone and just because of the lack of being social with people.
Let's go there. Say that again for me. Situational awareness?
Situational awareness.
So how do we get some of that?
Well, you pick your head up from your iPhone, first of all.
Well, it's a natural mechanism built in nature. Like when you were out on your show, you got to really tap into some of what nature builds in.
That's right. We got to watch Danielle on a freaking show, like survive in the wild, survive in the cold rain,
situational,
survive in the freaking river.
It's built
survive
in.
with absolute idiots surrounding her.
Yeah, absolute idiots is key right there. No, the situational awareness, let's talk about defensive position or personal protection. It buys you time, whether it's 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
Right.
If you can see certain things coming. I've worked with survivors from the San Bernardino shooting, and they were talking about how people walked in with guns and they didn't immediately recognize that those were real guns. And they had that freeze, flight or flight type of thing. They froze and were watching these people get shot with ARs. And they also thought in the social services building that those windows were bulletproof. So to hear the way these people talk and their lack of social, situational awareness, I think it's something that, the intuition, we hone it and we own it, and then we hone it and then we own it. You got to recognize it to be, thinking about that. I got to let this work for me. It's like training yourself in anything.
All right. So training yourself in anything. So what's the first step in training yourself in anything?
The first step is recognizing it and then giving it attention.
So listen, so what you're saying is not really like okay, yeah, we all come into the world with what you're talking about.
Yes, we do.
Especially if there's danger around, and typically we're kind of keyed into maybe where the danger is at if we're aware of the space that we're in or something like that. But I think you're talking about something you might be taking for granted that
we come with these things.
Unless we're afraid, we're not really paying attention to immediately what's going on around us. But I think you're talking about what comes up in here a lot.
Present moment awareness.
The ability to harmonize with the space that you're in, to assess what's happening in the space. So I guess developing that tool becomes a critical element. But it's hard to develop a pair of eyes that see when you're blind. So situational awareness is teaching people to see what's actually obsessing the objective reality of the world that they're in, or the space that they're in, or the environment that they're in, right?
But sometimes you can look at nothing and see everything. So we can go down that wild, crazy, weird. Yeah. We can get weird right now if you want.
Well, you want to get weird?
You listen deeply.
Well, what's cool is that I'm not weird, and that if you say something weird, you're just going to look weirder.
You're not weird. Thomas is going to.
I am weird. Okay.
That means you're supernatural Wonder Woman.
Very weird. You have an audience that's and pragmatically speaking, we have to be able to apply what you're saying.
Absolutely.
So that place and how we develop situational awareness is key in your development. We all have this intuitive sense.
Yeah.
We hope, unless we're just complete numbskulls
at this point. That's the intuition.
Right, and then we have to become aware of the objective reality, the cognitive, where we're at, right? The truth of where we're at, who's actually in the
mentally,
space, and what's
emotionally,
going on, right?
and physically. So you have those three things, always applying them to the intuition, to the situational awareness. Situational awareness, if I am picking my head up a little bit more, I might notice somebody that's sitting on a sidewalk crying. That gives me the choice to go over and be like, hey, are you okay? And have compassion, and it builds your compassion. It builds a lot of things. So it's not just this protection thing of being physical and
gotcha.
It's not that defense. And that's the difference between self-defense and personal protection, and why I like to decipher those two. Because self-defense is very interventive. We're already having a problem. We're here. Personal protection is a preventative platform to help us avoid those situations. But as I pulled back the layers of what is personal protection, what are all these elements and tools I'm talking about, I realized it was just making us better people, and it was a mindset, and it was really training ourselves in that mindset and in that space to give us the freedom to shape and form that space and to move through the spaces that we're in a much better place, in a much more confident place that applies to us.
All right, so what's the third thing?
Confidence.
Yeah. Which is how are you defining that?
Well,
I have a problem with that word, actually.
How are you a lot of people do. A lot of people do, but it gets used.
Well, it's just how she defines it.
Don't like confident people.
No. It's not that.
I think our confidence, for me, particularly, I think. I know that it's something that's always evolving, and it changes daily because life is different every single day for some of us, and. I'm a single mom with 2 kids, and I'm intimidated by certain things at times. And I think people look at you and they don't really step back and look at the next person and just go, I don't know always what's going on with that person.
Right.
And I maybe look confident because the way I physically look, but inside I could feel like total crap that day, or alone, or sad, or going through different things. And the one thing I go to when maybe I'm not really on my confidence, I'm not feeling like I'm in that zone of like, I feel really good today. I can see clearly into my future. I see all the steps I need to do and execute. I lean to certainty. That means like I go to the very basics and the minimum of what do I know about myself? What have I done? What have I accomplished? What can I lean on today that I might not be feeling that I was feeling yesterday?
Right.
And that certainty, when you have certainty of any kind and you take absolute action behind it, you will then build back in and find that space of confidence again. even if it's from a small space.
It's interesting. So my aversion to confidence is that it's the mind giving you permission to do something. And so the problem with that is that the mind is fluctuating.
Isn't that more arrogance?
And so if I'm like needing confidence to do something, what is obstructing me from doing the thing anyways? It's a concept in how I'm perceiving something.
Could be a perspective.
There's a limiting perspective.
Right.
So
lean to certainty.
But what you said was nice, because she kind of went full circle. You said, well, I'm feeling that, go back to what I do know.
Right.
And to me, that's
and then take action in what you do know.
Coming back into the present, reassessing the truth of what you can do, and then taking another step from that place.
Sometimes we have to take 2 steps back to take 10 forward, and that's
Absolutely.
the reality.
Yeah,
people get really like freaked out by that. They're like, no, I'm 10 steps forward. I'm not going back. But maybe you dropped a piece of something back there.
Yeah,
you're not really going back, because what you're
No,
doing,
you're not.
you're actually you're resetting to go to the place that can actually go forward.
Thank
well,
you.
So we're also spiraling through the universe, so you're going through cycles and rhythms, so that embed might be exactly where you left it in that month, and so you get triggered again 2 years later for something you thought you left behind, but it's another layer to transform.
That's
or
it.
heal.
You're evolving. You're always moving forward.
Yeah, we're going like this.
Certainty, action. It's going to yield absolute results. Absolute results are going to give you the confidence.
So
it's simple for me.
We'll give you the confidence, but you don't want to wait for that confidence. You
No.
got to understand that
It's not going to come to you.
Your right to exist in a well state and to perceive the world in a way that allows you to remain healthy is your birthright. You don't need confidence for that.
Exactly.
That's a God given. The thing is that when I hear people say, "Well, I need confidence, or otherwise I can't do it," it's not.
That's a false sense of security.
Exactly. So we're defining confidence in that way. It's actually a disadvantage to wait for confidence.
100%, because you're going to stall yourself, and you're then in your own way.
Unless
you need to get out of your own way.
But this is where the practice is, right? What you're teaching is come back to zero and assess, and then start taking steps.
But the word zero makes people feel like they failed or they're not good enough or something. So sometimes you got to take 2 steps back to come 10 forward. And if you don't understand that, then keep standing in your own way till you get sick of yourself, and then make the choice yourself. I can only help you so much.
That sounds like
I
tough
can't
love
make
to
you.
me, people.
I can make you. I don't feel like making you.
That's a tough love.
Yeah,
it is.
But
motivator. You're the motivator.
I wish adversity on everybody, to be honest. So.
Well, the crossover in terms of what I do on a daily basis is that I have an artist that's out in front of himself pushing an idea, and he's basically spinning his wheels, and there are no steps forward. It's just an illusion that he's moving forward, and until he stops that and actually catches the wave of the moment, he's not going to go anywhere.
Exactly.
So the illusion of 10 steps forward is just an illusion of 10 steps forward.
It's an illusion.
When in actuality, if you're stuck in an idea, you're already 10 steps back. So in order to actually take 2 steps forward,
action.
You need to stop, assess the objective reality of the space that you're in, and then move to 4. What's 4? You got another 4s, or you just got 3?
4 is empowerment.
Empowerment. What's that mean? How are you defining that?
Empowerment is you recognize the system that you just basically talked about, and you get it down, and then you're able to save time when these things happen. Like every single day it happens to me. Like I can get knocked off my confidence for all kinds of things.
Why do you need confidence? What are you waiting for confidence
It's not.
for?
It's just it's a term.
Say certainty.
Certainty.
He'll
Yeah.
stop
I actually use that word more than confidence.
What's
we want to negate this conversation.
How are you pretending that there's some certainty? How you know you're going to take another breath until you take it?
I'm not entitled to time or anything. But in the time and the space that I'm in, if I can be certain about those things in that moment and then move through it, and I'm still standing after it, then certainty worked out for me.
Yeah. Well, you're certain of change. There's always going to be change.
Yeah, I became friends with certainty in that moment, Tom.
So I want to know the sensitivity to bullying, because you said you referenced something that relates to acting like a girl, a woman, which is soft and sort of cuddly, and then here you are, like, you look at me wrong, I want to fucking bash your teeth in.
Yeah.
So where's the woman coming in as far as
yin, the receptor?
Where's the I mean, how is that? Why are you so sensitive to it? What is that? What makes you the warrior? What makes you run those stairs and get out and kick your own ass and overcome all these obstructions, overcoming the Lyme disease, overcoming difficult family circumstances, overcoming maybe a difficult single mom situation, overcoming, maybe an abusive guy or two along your path. I mean, what is it the accumulation of those things? Did you just get fed up one day and say, fuck it?
My bullshit meter's full. No, you know what?
Did you just stop? Did you just stop thinking, I'm going to stop being like my mom and stop being this thing and that thing? And when did it occur to you that you are you?
Well, this is part of your dharma, your life purpose.
Totally. I think this is definitely my purpose. This is definitely not something that when I was a kid I would have stepped into and been like, I'm going to be doing this. That's an interesting question. I've been asked that before, and I think that when you're in my shoes, it's just I don't know the difference, Tom. I don't know any different. So I recognize that I deal with things differently than the majority vast of people, and statistically, even looking at certain things that have happened to certain people that I'm in that same category and where they're at and what's happened to them and where I'm at, and I just feel really grateful. I feel blessed. I'm glad that I have that fire in me and that not going to quit attitude, but I haven't lost my sensitivity and all, and I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of now looking back. I see a lot of people that have been through what I've been through, and they're very hardened. They're cold. They hate the world. They hate their life. They look at they just make a lot of excuses. And I'm just really truly grateful that no matter how hard things get, I have a happiness inside of me, and I have a fire in me. And as long as I can walk and move around, I'm gonna keep firing off in all directions and all cylinders that I have going. And I feel like I have enough to be able to go out and fight for other people when they need it. And I think that we have certain callings when we're here on this planet, and I know that I'm doing something that's way bigger than myself. And anytime I'm a part of something bigger than myself, I get pretty fired up.
What do you enjoy the most in this world besides your kids? And we know that they bring you instant joy. That's just cheating.
Yeah,
so I'm just gonna take that one away. So
they bring me headache and joy.
Yeah, headache and joy. But in this space, it's Joy Score, and it's really about we have these difficult challenges, and you're stepping and chasing you're kind of like a firefighter. You're just kind of like looking for a problem to step into to help out. That's what makes you sort of this.
No, they come my way. The people come my way.
That's sort of what makes you this civilian superhero, because you're kind of looking where you can assert yourself to make a difference, and that's a huge differentiation. Most of us sit back when things happen. We might do something, but you're actually proactively looking to put out the fires in a social context.
I'm sensitive to pain. I think that if I can see a blueprint, I do a mindset coaching and performance skills coaching. I moved into that space with this. Now this is evolving into this, and I was working with Major League Baseball players this last season, and taking and watching their careers and seeing this blueprint and formula of things and ways I could help them on the field, off the field, how to organize that space as an athlete, and taking the fighter mindset, the athlete mindset, the nurturing mindset, and kind of just that warrior mindset, and putting them all together, marrying them together, and coming up with this amazing formula for people to flip a switch. When I was doing those seminars, self-defense, personal protection, whatever, there's nothing to do about the physical. These people throw these things up every weekend, free women's self-defense, and you go in there, I've taken hundreds of them, and they send these people out with a false sense of security, which I find incredibly vicious. And because they're just like false sense of security bouncing around, they think that because they learned a few moves that they can't remember.
Well, most martial arts classes are like that initially.
It's so cheesy to me.
You see the people, like, if they ever think that they belong in a fight, they're really in big trouble. They're going to lose their life.
They're going to lose their life,
right.
Especially with somebody who has intent to hurt you. There's nothing scarier.
Yeah. But listen, what makes you happy about that? I mean, where do you find your joy?
I find my joy in watching people maximize their potential as human beings, and when they're doing that, they're happier. When they're happier, they're more secure. When they're more secure, they're kinder. And then you're leaving the world a better place. There's a formula to it, and
you're saying
I see it.
They're
They are.
They're doing it. They're doing that. So where's the joy? What is that?
I'm just an influencer, and I think
so
that's the
your
way.
joy is influencing these people to
Think
reach
about
their
it.
full potential.
Yeah. If I'm working with a huge celebrity and I do something there, imagine how many people they touch. If they've got 90 million followers and they're taking one piece of influence that I've given them, I'm touching those 90 million people. If it's
dropping a pebble in the water.
Yeah, if it's these athletes that kids are looking up to, emulating, and you're making them better men off the field, They're not causing domestic violence. They're not doing this.
Yeah, but you're talking about you're not smiling. I don't understand why you're not getting all cuddly.
Because I'm passionate about it. I'm cuddly. I am. I'm actually ultra sensitive, and people don't know that about
me.
Me.
She's cuddly. She means it. She's trying to sell.
I'm cuddly, and then you're choking.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. See, that smile comes on your face, and that's glorious, and that kind of changes the energy in the room, like you said in your Ultimate Ninja Challenge tape. You said I have a choice here. I can make everybody fucking miserable, or I can actually lift
I'm
people
serious.
up. So I'm gonna have to think about lifting people up.
Yeah, I can smash them down really quickly with my energy, or lift them up.
Lift them up. So it's it's what's in
the power of choice.
That's
in that
a
gift.
What's in this for you? I mean, you've taken on a warrior mentality, but how does Danielle take care of herself relative to feeding that machine, and not just the physical one? Do you find quiet times? Do you have a meditative practice? Do you have a spiritual practice? Are you a God-fearing woman? How do you find your way back to bliss?
I am a God-fearing woman. Definitely, yeah. I very much am. And
where'd you get that from?
It's been around me all my life.
Mom, dad?
Nope. Parents were opposite of that.
Whoa, somebody must have brought you to church for the first time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that different people that I respected, and things that somebody might have said to me. And
did you find the Bible? Did you study it, or is that
I did.
Is that where you're going?
I did, and it's not that. That's where I'm going. When I look back, there's too many. It's not even coincidences. There's just too many incredible people that have stepped in my life, too many times that I could have died or shouldn't be here, shouldn't be there, shouldn't have been able to do this, that I was and I did and I am. And I can't question that.
Miracle moments. Maybe.
Yeah.
You're attributing that to God.
Yeah, I do.
How do you define God these days?
I define God as Jesus Christ. He's upstairs.
He's upstairs?
Yeah.
Why do you smile and laugh?
Because
it sounds so funny.
No, it just does,
my
yeah.
long hair and my beard?
Yeah, it's that. No, I do. I'm a God-fearing woman. I believe in God.
What does that mean? I'm like, don't define God-fearing woman or man, because I've never heard that term.
I don't think it's as much fearing.
Like I grew up in a Protestant church. We like to make everyone feel happy and good about God.
Yeah, I just believe in God. I think that today's a lot of people are have their own beliefs. I respect what everybody believes. I'm not a huge fan of certain religions for reasons that I won't say, but I, for the most part, have a lot of respect for whatever people want to believe, as long as they're cool and they beat to their own drum and they're cool to people. If you start thinking it's cool to go out and beat on people or hurt kids or sleep with kids or marry kids at certain ages, I got a problem with you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, your code of ethics.
But still, you're avoiding the sort of the God thing.
No, I'm not.
So where's that? How does that work for you? And how big of a part of that?
Well, in your book, you shared a beautiful story about your son, if you don't mind talking about it.
Oh, when he passed away?
Yeah, and how you were trying to be there, but you were having the sense of everything was happening. But then you made a prayer in that moment and kind of brought you back and brought him back simultaneously.
Yeah, it did.
Really beautiful.
It really did.
Moment.
Thank you. Yeah, his heart stopped out of nowhere, and I rushed him to the hospital, and it stopped at the hospital. So I rushed him there. He was throwing up in this weird way, and I rushed him to the hospital and they took him straight back, and I didn't realize his heart was beating 248 beats per minute.
Crazy.
And until they rushed in, and then they came over and swept me out of the room, and I remember just feeling like stiff, like I was falling down this pole. Like I tried not to pass out. I could feel my body was about to pass out. And I remember just crawling on the floor, and I was just like, please, God, take me, not him. Like, please. In that moment, you don't really know what to say or think or do. It's such a scary, scary moment. It's just like the worst thing that could possibly happen. Right. And it was happening. So I just remember saying, I'll never ask for anything again. I don't think I had really asked for things. I don't know that I knew how to pray at that time. I think as a kid, I always knew that there was something bigger than me. I always knew that something was around me. I was very in touch with those things, but mostly with animals. I could hear things and see things, and not to sound like a complete freak, but that's the truth.
That's what we're all on that wavelength.
Yeah, that's the truth. I would hear and see things, but mostly with animals and things, and I had a really gift with horses and especially. But I remember just sitting like down on the floor, and I was like, please, God, take
take me, not him. Please don't do this. I'll never ask you for anything. I'll do whatever you need me to do. Like, I will be whatever you need me to be. Like, I'll listen. I'll stop doing whatever I think is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. I was just so incredibly humbled. And I remember crawling back over, and I just started calling for him, and I grabbed onto his foot because they were all in there. Like, I saw his feet leaving the bed. He was getting defibrillated. They put a shot into him. And I heard the little monitor and him come back to life. And I remember, like, Bryce, come here. Mommy's here. Don't you leave me, you know. And he came back, and once they kind of cleared the room and they were going to transport us down to a different hospital, he was like, Mommy, where were you? Where were you?
Yeah.
I was running on grass, and I was by myself. And I remember thinking, like, that's why probably parents commit suicide in that when their kids die. It's not just from depression. It's from, you feel like, I need to be there with them. He just told me he's alone there. Like, if this happens again, like, I will take my life and go wherever you are. Like, fine.
You just guilted him back into his body.
I did. I basically did.
No,
like, you little shit, get your ass back here.
I think it was the prayer, like, simultaneously. He was
everything
leaving,
happened.
And you were like, I knew that you need to call
it
back.
Was deep.
And
it was a deep moment.
Both were given a second.
So that was a peek into the other side, right?
Yeah.
So once we have those moments, it's hard to pretend that they didn't happen, and it's hard to sense that this voice that's seemingly incessantly moving is secondary to something else. Yeah
absolutely.
So I mean, that's an important aspect, because at the base of everything that you're teaching, there is this stillness. There is an overriding sense of what to do and how to relax,
and what to say sometimes to people,
and how to assess a certain set of circumstances. Like, I used to live in Venice. I lived in Venice. That's where you used to come to class, actually.
Yeah. And
there was a few times where my life could have been taken as I walked my dog late night out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I'd come out of class, and I'd go walk my dogs after class. And I was in such a good place after I would teach a class that it didn't really matter what came at me. I was prepared to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can think that if my attitude had been different, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But because of the energy moving out and forward into that dark world, and sometimes people surface from that world and they're very dark, they're in a very difficult place. They might have been just left out of, like this guy was just let out of prison, got beaten up by a bunch of drug dealers, and he was a huge man with a knife and wanted my money. And we wound up becoming friends.
Right.
In that conversation.
Right.
And I saw him around, and I'd help him out wherever I could, but had I had an attitude, the man would have taken my life from me in a second.
Yeah, he had nothing to lose.
The day that he was having. And
there's a spiritual war going on for sure out there. And I think when you have a purpose and you're on a platform and you're serving and building and elevating and breathing life into people again, that spiritual negative energy wants to end that for you. They want to take it from you. Right. So I get challenged an awful lot, and I know the difference. To be honest, I can tell when it's something bigger than me challenging me. It's not the person, it's the energy behind it.
Interesting, right?
And I see it coming a mile away. And that's because my situation awareness is so honed, but also my spirituality, my mentality, my emotional side. I'm so like liquid sensitive on the inside. I feel it a mile away. And I'll know it when it's the enemy. And I know why. I used to go, why does all these things happen to me? Why are they happening to me? And everybody's like, you're so this. And I was like, fuck you. No, I'm not. Like, that's not how I feel.
So you're describing the polarity of what exists, you know.
Sweetheart, if you're going to be a bright light, we're going to see you. So
that's the thing. But the enemy also sees you, and they want to put it out because they don't want you influencing people away from that. They like to have their grip on them. They like that kind of.
And so, what is the warrior like? We like a good challenge. So bring it. And
bring it. Yeah.
So let me sharpen my sword on your effort.
That's it.
And the idea is out of that effort is to become elevated because of it, because of the challenge. Regardless, the more negative, the greater the challenge.
It's not just the greater the challenge. It's just, it's kind of like at this point, I've had a lot of that, and it sometimes I'm like, wow, that's pretty ugly. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, but what do we know about? We had Malcolm the Punisher McCallum sitting in that chair, professional boxer.
He loved fighting,
and
anger.
Yeah.
When he said the moment I get angry, I get knocked out. So
Yeah,
what
you
we
don't
know,
fight out of
what we
emotion.
know about an opponent that's angry is that they're vulnerable already because they're very myopic.
Much more vulnerable.
They don't realize they're not aware of the circumstances around them. They're not capable to adapt as quickly. So as long as that warrior mindset stays open and still concerned with the challenge in front from a well-being perspective, then they're at a severe disadvantage, right?
Yes, it is, but it's also it's authenticity too. When we're trying to be something we're not, in that space, you will fail as well because, I think that people can see through that. When people aren't genuine or authentic, it's not compelling, period. And I think that when people are trying to come out and just act tough and they're acting out of emotion, that in itself is what makes them vulnerable, and you can see right through it. I mean, if you're used to it and you can see it and you're not that.
So how do you champion for the bully? Meaning, how do you transform the insecurity, their vulnerability, so that they're not the aggressor anymore? Because I was raped in high school, and I actually had so much. It's okay. It's that thing that doesn't matter anymore, really, to me. But in the sense that the reason I bring it up is that really after the occurrence, I wanted to know what happened to him that would cause him to do that. Like, that's where my mind was. Of course, I had the healing and all that stuff to do. So what do we do about the bully to transform them? Because then it's like this constant, like, running in circles, defending and, doing this dance. That how do we get out of that cycle, the predatory victim cycle?
Do you give a shit about the bully, or do we just want to crush them and stamp them out?
Well, I care about the bully.
You care about the bully. Suzanne cares about the bully. So what are we going to do? Because a bully, a bully can grow up and learn too, and can regret.
Someone being bullied can turn into a bully real quick too.
Absolutely.
But I look at it like this: like when we're born, that's our confirmation. As we grow older, we get a posture because different things that happen to our bodies. So I think a bully is just a poorly postured person. They weren't born a bully. Somebody made them into a bully. That treatment, that condition, that type of thing. There's so many different reasons for people to be bullies that I've seen that are ridiculous, but it really stems from insecurity and ego and fear and that weak place. That's all the same stuff. It's all in the dark. And sometimes in this country, certain people have been raised that ego is strong and your strength, and it's all these things. It's quite the opposite, and not a lot of people talk about it. So I do have compassion for a bully, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe you need your ass beat and you need it shaken out of you. And an ass beating could be just ignoring them. An ass beating could be physical. It could be whatever they need it to be. And, sometimes they choosing to be that way. There's only so many things. People have to want to be helped to be helped. Somebody has to want to change. They have to get lonely.
Does it raise your joy score when you beat down a bully?
It might.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely would. After I beat him, it's like, let's talk. What's your story? Like, are you done yet?
So there you go, people. Beat down a bully today and raise your joy score.
Absolutely.
Well, and have you ever thought about teaching any anger management classes? Because there's a lot of men and women that were raised in a very aggressive environment in different cultures where you actually, beat sense into someone would be something they might say. That's how they learn to have respect and all those things.
Yeah, I don't believe in making an excuse like, well, I'm an alcoholic because my dad drank. It's like, if you have your health.
If they're willing, like if you had a group of men that were all like,
I don't want to domestically violate my wife anymore. Help me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, there's so many people out there. I kind of want to stay in my lane. I'm sure there's people that specialize in that, and good for them. But I just, a lot of times it just depends. There's people that are born certain ways too.
All right, so when was the last time you beat down a bully?
She has a grin on her face now. She's like, about 5 minutes ago.
I haven't physically had to do anything in a while.
You're in jiu-jitsu. You teach jiu-jitsu. I mean, there's got to be like bully dudes that go in there.
There are.
And then you can make them tap out and
teach
them a thing or two, right?
Yeah, there's guys that come in and they have a hard time rolling against a woman, so they put on like their world championship match in a regular training session. And I've had that a lot where you just have to choke them, and I can tell like it's hurting their ego more than it's hurting them, and they just don't want to tap, and you're like, please tap for your own sake because you're gonna poop your pants.
I chose to
I don't want you to poop.
How many have you had to resuscitate?
None. I just leave them laying there. I get up and leave before they wake back up.
Well, I preferred to have a female teacher teach me jujitsu.
Yeah.
I had Penny Thomas, world champion jujitsu, teach me because I didn't want to freaking be faced with a egocentric guy to break my arm off.
Yeah, we're
when
more
I was
technical.
a lifeguard, they made us take the biggest. Like I'm not a big woman.
Yeah.
They made me take the biggest, brawniest man to prove that I could save him.
Right.
Oh no.
I was not let off of
I'd pull him into the shallow end and be like, "You're fine. Put your feet down. You can touch now."
Yeah, I wouldn't have been hired.
well, listen. I know from a guy's perspective, fighting each other is a way that we've talked about this before on the show. It's a way that we find where we fit into the rest of the world. It's one of the ways that we learn how to navigate the space that we're in, the world that we're in, the community that we're in.
It's physical.
It's through fighting, and most of the time after a fight, there's more respect there, or hopefully there's respect there between you. At least you know if you're the big guy or the small guy or the
pecking order
guy. Yeah, like who do you got to respect, and even watching somebody else fight gives you respect for them because you see the courage that it takes to enter into that in a certain state of mind and come out of it. So fighting is, from my perspective, not a bad thing.
No, there's nothing greater than being a fighter because it's not just about physical. It's about fighting through the different aspects, the different spaces, the different things in life. And
yeah, as we learn, it's the more the mindset. The stronger
100%.
the mindset, the more capable we are of adapting to the truth of the moment at hand.
It helps, I would imagine, sharpen present moment awareness.
100%.
But a bully is an interesting thing because that's a matter of perspective. Depending on what side of the fence that you're standing on, you can interpret a certain action from one side of the fence as bullying, and then from the other side of the fence, somebody can look at the same act and
until it's happening to you.
And say that's not bullying, and see basically what it is. It's I guess any use of power, whether it's size, or whether it's strength, or whether it's position, or because it'd be hard to imagine a world without it because everybody's flexing. One
part
way or
of this
another.
is
if you're a boss, you're flexing one way or another. You could look at all the employees as being bullied by a boss. From one perspective, they're bullying everybody. They're setting agendas, and if you don't finish up those agendas, you get fired. That could be perceived as bullying. You can perceive.
There's different perceptions, but there's
under certain circumstances too, bullying.
But if you feel like crap after you're dealing with somebody, you got to ask yourself what's going on.
For the listeners, define what bullying is.
That's sort of what's happening now. It's if somebody feels like crap after they've been
mistreated or flexed on in a certain way.
There's
always a nicer way to say something. We can agree on that.
It's an important distinguishing thing because you feeling bad can be your problem, not necessarily not necessarily a challenge that I gave you. Just because you feel bad because I gave you a challenge shouldn't be my friggin' problem. I shouldn't be.
No, exactly.
I shouldn't be labeled a bully because
ultimately we should all be accountable for ourselves.
Just because you don't feel good, and God knows how many types of.
Well, that's the kind of world we live in right now. Like, if you don't feel good, go in the safe room and cry in color. Like, grow up.
Right.
I'm not one of those people. You don't get a participation medal on my team.
You gave me a difficult test and you didn't give me enough time to study for it. You're bullying me in a particular way.
No.
So the degrees of it though are even position-wise. And so if you're a boss, there's more people going like that. And
your intuition is going to tell you.
There's more human resources
when you're being
now
bullied.
going, the boss can't even give specific
No, they got to be careful.
in a lot of
Well, it depends on the
respect.
organization. If it's a corporation, they have a big legal and HR department,
Yeah,
so you
there's
can't go
different
very
things.
far.
I mean, it's pretty general, but your intuition, you know when you're being bullied. You know when you're being the bully.
I think, and also, and I'm sticking up for the bullies in this respect, is that I grew up an athlete from a little kid all the way up, and I can think every step of the way, regardless of a squirt or a peewee or a bantam or whatever level I was going through, there was the people there that they were using their superior strength to kick your frickin' ass, whether it was,
and they made you better.
And they set a bar for me, saying, okay, if I can't get around him, I'm going to have to figure out how to get around him. If I can't beat him this way,
that's athletics,
I
though.
have to beat him in another way.
We're talking about completely different things. I'm all about beating down people in athletics.
Hold on a second. And at 6 years old, I lived in New York, right? And we were getting bussed out at that point to I couldn't go to the school that was like down the street. I was freaking bussed out to this other freaking dumbass school. And on that bus, there was like every sort of crime that could possibly be done by kids and teenagers on that bus. And every time I got off that bus, I got chased home by a bunch of people that were saying they were going to beat my ass.
Those are bullies.
Yeah.
All right, but
what did you do?
It made me really fast.
And you learned how to adapt.
And I had to go face that thing down every day, and I had to learn how to socially fit in a way where maybe I wasn't going to get my butt kicked, or maybe I wouldn't have to be chased home, and that made me smarter.
Well, developmentally...
That's called street smarts.
Right.
Now, there's certain levels of bullying
within reason
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's where you have an isolated kid who's
dropping out of school, or there's 110,000 kids a year.
Doesn't have the support at home.
Totally.
He's a daycare kid, and he's trying to make it through. Maybe physically he's got some challenges, and everybody takes a piss out of him.
There's kids at schools right now bullying kids with cleft lips.
That's tragic, because those are the ones that fall off the back.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that might take their own lives. Those are the ones that might take other people's lives as they
13 kids a year, 13 kids a day, not a year, unfortunately, a day, in the teenage level are committing suicide now. 2 kids last week down at my kids' school district committed suicide from the same school.
It's horrible because of that isolation, and that's
the internet is a big deal
too.
That's
the kind of bullying that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's sad.
Cyberbullying.
It's not the other
to
stuff.
The sticks and stones
I know.
mentality. Sticks and stones might break my bones. Names will never hurt me. Yeah.
Well,
that's not true.
When you're a kid,
it's easier to get hit.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, this world is, their world is it's everything to them, and that's why you have to stand up and go, "Hey, I was there. I got it."
Yeah, but you know what? In my neighborhood, sticks or stones, okay. Then here comes a stick and a stone really quick. So you better take cover.
Well, what you're touching on, Thomas, is developmentally there is bullying. Like there is some level of where everyone acts out as a bully, as an aggressor towards someone, whether they're emotive, they're reactive. They don't know really how to express what they're feeling.
They're cowardly about it too, which is really upsetting other kids too. They don't know what's going on. So you go up there and you paint a perspective for them. Like, how tough is it to sit? Who do you think? Raise your hand if you think it's tough to sit behind a computer and make up some stuff about somebody, and then nobody knows who did it. How tough is that? Raise your hand if you think it's tough. And then the kids are all sitting there, and they're all together.
Yeah.
And then you start painting these different perspectives, and they're like, oh, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, and then they kind of follow you along. And then we do talk about the bully. We give those other perspectives, like, hey, they probably need a hug more than anyone in this room.
Right.
Let's think about that. So you have this very friendly, very real talk with them. And, people start having a little bit more compassion, a little bit more awareness. That guy next to you, just because you're making fun of him, he doesn't have the cool clothes. Like, do you know that maybe his mom's in jail and his dad beats him and his dad's not home? Do you know that? You don't know that. Do you know he's hungry at lunch? You don't know that. But there's kids sitting next to you that are in this situation, because I was in that situation. And then they look at you and they're like, are you serious? How could you have been in it? Because you don't know. You're assuming. You don't know what someone else is going through.
Absolutely.
And then they leave there like, look at the people next to me. So it's just perspective. It's 100% mindset. And I think that's where my gift is flipping those switches on different mindsets.
So to take this out of the general, make it specific for you. I mean, and given your perspective and the direction that you're headed, what's the next step for you? What is it what next superhero feat are you kind of endeavoring into? How are you going to take this to the next
Spider-Woman?
level? Hey, given your drive, I mean, you must have an ideal that you're moving into.
I do.
What is it?
Well, I've written up a curriculum for Major League Sports in general that target the wives and significant others as well as the athletes. So I have, 2 different things for them. I'm working with athletes individually, and I'm trying to work with the players associations of the MLB, the NFL, NBA, NHL, because I think if we can affect these athletes at the top and these people at the top, that's what the kids are emulating. All the kids are looking at them. So I thought, how can I touch as many kids as I possibly can? How can I influence them? If I can influence these guys and get them, operating in a better way, and also helping them maximize, things. So my goal is the progress and results. Progress makes us happy as people, and results get us paid, in our jobs. So if I can manipulate that anywhere, and I can chip away at minimizing failure in their own sports for what they do because of the people that they're becoming. And that's proven, and I've worked with athletes in the last couple of years. They've had career years. They're like, I'm a better man, I'm a better person. When I hear that, I feel like I'm winning. And then I can use them to talk to the kids about this. And the kids are just like, oh my gosh, you're doing what? And they care what you think. If you have authority, these kids come in and they care. If you come to their level, you speak their language. If you speak the language of these adults. And we're all just little kids on the inside. And I think that sometimes we forget that loving that little kid on the inside, accepting that little kid on the inside, and going back and going, hey, I need to treat that little kid on the inside, forgive the kid on the inside. Either way, you have to acknowledge that. We all are little kids on the inside. And when we turn on the inside and we grab that little kid and love them up and kind of look at it like that, we are gentler people. We're gentler on ourselves and we're gentler in our life, but we're also like, wow, I'm getting some things now. Some things are starting to make some sense. And I'm not alone. Other people are feeling these ways or going through these different challenges, maybe at different times or whatever. It's not how we fall in life, it's how we get up that defines us. And we're all going to fall. You're all going to fall at some time. And I hope that you do. I hope that you have adversity. It will make you better. It'll make you much more flavorful and you can paint in more colors.
Or anybody that's standing has gotten up, right?
Yep.
So here's a question for you. So, all right, let's just assume that there's this will be seen and heard by at least several thousand people before it gets put on the shelf. And so you're going to have some kids out there. You're going to have some parents that are listening that maybe feel like they have a kid that's being bullied. And so if you could address a kid out there that's being bullied, how would you go about that?
I would go ahead.
Because I want you to treat it as if you're talking directly to somebody, because from a parent's perspective, like we just saw a beautiful film, A Beautiful Boy. Go see it. Mm-hmm. Go see that film.
Okay.
Beautiful film. But it exemplifies a parent in there that's lost because the kid is going off the rails. Mm-hmm. And he's seeking every path that he can to try to get into his kid's head to the point that he's taking the drugs himself just to understand what his kid's going through. Beautiful film. How would you talk to a kid that's being severely bullied right now?
Are they being, what kind of bullying?
I don't know.
I think that I would first hear the kid's story, hear their side of things.
What story can you reference?
I might hear about a kid who.
So right now you're talking to that kid.
Yeah. Okay. So I would just say, just keep taking steps forward. Don't be afraid to share what you're going through. Don't hide it from everybody, because I did, and it took me a heck of a lot longer.
You're talking to me now. Talk to them.
Yeah. I would say share what you're going through with somebody that you trust, and find somebody that you trust. If you're hungry, go to the office at school, ask for a lunch, reach out, let people know what you're going through. Just don't hide it, and know that it's not your fault. You're not weird because of it. You're not the only person going through it. There's been a lot of people. There's probably people around you going through the same thing that you just don't know it, because we want to be cool if they're in junior high school or high school, or no matter where they're at in their life. I think that
he's got to wake up and go to school tomorrow. He's going to be bullied tomorrow.
Yeah.
What do you got for him?
He's got to go.
He's going to face the music tomorrow.
He's got to stand up and say stop. He's got to go talk to people about it, tell people about it. I know there's a lot of teachers that don't respond to the bullying. I know there's a lot of but this didn't happen, but that, because I've heard it from so many kids and parents, and shame on the schools. They are a lot of times not going to help you. You have to be strong and help yourself. You've got to do something about it. You can reach out to me at my True Boundaries Charitable Foundation. I will get you a scholarship to a martial arts academy for a year with all your gear paid for, and get you out of that situation and teach you how to build yourself back, and have people around you that have your back and will surround you, and you will have a different mentality when you're working and investing in yourself. So there's one thing you can do.
How about that? Right there? That's what we're talking about right there.
I'm an action person. I'm not just, do this, go away, do this. You can contact me, and I'll show up, and I'll stand up for you, and I'll do something for you. It's the True Boundaries Charitable Foundation.
True Boundaries Charitable.
Even for those that are...
You share that online?
Yeah, I did. I just put it in. But share for the listeners, because oftentimes in our society we don't want to meddle. and how you can stand up for someone, because that's what you're doing for kids that are and adults that might feel like they can't have a voice.
Yeah.
So for the listeners that might witness that bullying's happening, how they can intercede. I remember one time I met with my kids at Legoland. I saw this kid doing things that were not appropriate, and I just you directly talk to the kid.
Yeah, say stop. Takes 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They say to stop bullying by saying stop.
Yeah.
You know, if you're the person standing around laughing at something the bully's saying, you're the bully. If you're standing there doing nothing, you're the bully. If you've shown the bully where the kid is that's going to be bullied, you're the bully. So there's different kinds of bullies, and some people are like, oh, I didn't say it, I didn't do it. But you know who you are, you know you're a part of it. And if I'm going to tell you something, if somebody goes and takes their life because of bullying in a situation you were involved in, because that person for some reason saw it as that's their whole wide world and their life's over because you did XYZ on the internet or in person, whatever it may be, or a continual cycle of bullying that you thought was so funny, and if they go take their life, your life will be changed forever, and not in a good way. It will haunt you the rest of your life.
And I got a word for those being bullied. You know, this insecurity that you feel is not you. It's not
your fault.
It's not. Well, it's not you. And the negativity and the feeling ostracized or not accepted by people that you perceive to be important. They're not important. And what's important is how you hang your head high and how you feel within yourself and how you take care of yourself and how you get your thoughts right and how you see that world with a fresh pair of eyes, even moving into difficulty. And you're worthy of being here. You have a right to be here.
You're here for a purpose, and it's a reflection of those people.
You will discover that purpose.
Yes.
And that purpose is not going to just show up.
It may take 40 years.
It may take time,
Might take longer.
It may take time, like Danielle, still figuring out her purpose.
Absolutely.
I think she's known her purpose all along.
But don't you do something stupid. Hang tough.
Yeah,
because you will become as tough as those that are bullying you, and then you will be able
You'll
to
be
do
tougher.
something. They'll be tougher in a way that is hopefully more compassionate and intelligent.
The bully's not tough. The bully is weak. You're already tougher if you just stand up.
Hopefully become more compassionate and more intelligent than the oppressor that's in front of you. And I can guarantee one thing: if you think on your feet and see things as they are, you'll learn and you'll get strong.
So we have a question for you from Shanghai Jack, our great participator. He wanted to know how do you speak to parents, like you're out in public and you hear, I've heard this before, where they're degrading their children, where they're out of line.
Well, I'm a coach, so I see that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I usually will not as much. I have a low tolerance for the parents, to be honest. I tell them no drama from the beginning. But when I see kids in that situation, I just tell them that behavior doesn't reflect you. And our parents, sometimes the gifts they give us are wrapped in some crappy paper. And it's a gift, and we don't, you know, it's going to come upon us because they're our parents and we're in that situation. We're in the line of fire no matter what.
Right.
And it's not something that reflects us. It's not our fault. And if I have an opportunity to talk to the parent, if it's in a certain appropriate situation, sometimes because sometimes you got to be careful talking to the parents because the parent's going to go unleash worse on the kid.
Right.
You know, because now you've humiliated them. So it's a very fine line situation, and I always am on the kid's side, going to be a proponent of the kid. You know, like I coach baseball, so example, I'll be like, between those white lines belongs to your kids.
Right.
They don't need to hear you yelling when they're at bat. I want them to feel excited to get up there. It's already hard enough to hit a little baseball coming at you with a stick, basically. So I'm like, I want them to get up there and feel excited to show you what they've learned and what they can do.
Right.
So be quiet, please. You can cheer. I don't want to hear you bleacher coaching. I will ask you to stop, and I will embarrass you.
Right.
So I warn them up front, so the parents are kind of like, shoot, I'm really taken aback by her. You know, I'm not really sure. But the kids, I watch them just come alive, and I'm like, if you guys know about baseball and I love to learn, I would love to learn. If you know something, come out to practice and get on the field with us, be a part of the team. Don't come and shoot your expertise from the bleachers as loud as you can, humiliating your kid. They don't appreciate it. They don't like it. Yeah. And if I have a parent like that, I go to the kid and I go, hey, my parent did that too. It's annoying, and I got your back. So let's tune it out. And then I'll go talk to the parent, or I'll give them a look. like a look like I'm about to beat your ass.
So that's a situational way to teach them without addressing their
You just got to be
aggressive behavior.
careful. You got to be careful with the parents because they will go punish the kid 10 times worse, and then the kid, you'll see them come and they're a lot more closed up. They don't want to look at you.
Right.
You're now the enemy. Now the kid's in a bad position. So you got to be really careful addressing the parents. I try to address them in the very, very beginning. But if it's a situation where I see something in public, then I'll just say it out loud. You know, I won't even look at the kid. I'll just say it out loud to the parent, like, hey, you want to pick on someone, pick on me.
Yeah.
You know, like, obviously, they're a little small. Like, I've seen a parent a little bit heavy-handed, a dad before with a boy, and it was over the top. I'm all about, you know, putting your kid in check, but there's a line that you cross. And, you know, these kids, a lot of times, bullies aren't going to do it in front of people. Parents that are like that, you know, I had.
Well, all parents have expectations and requirements, you know.
They do,
and they're using their kids to a huge degree to either show off or posture with other parents.
At times,
So we have. There's a bit of an ego in the stands because of their expectations and their own competitive natures, and even their inability to do what the kid is doing at this current time, thinking that those expectations will somehow get him into the major leagues. When in actuality, the reality is a very patient, clear-minded perspective and progression that it gets
it's a process.
Possibly a guy into the minor leagues.
Yeah, you want your kid to maybe play in college or high school would be great.
So I mean, that's a good way to sort of let them know that that's what they're doing, and then that's just going to marginalize and limit the kids' progress. So. Do you have anything else you want to lay out on the table here for us that we haven't got? You know, we could have you here. We got the filmmakers in the back. I mean, is there something? Is there something?
This is a juicy conversation.
Yeah, you know,
is there something you need to express to an audience that would appreciate has already appreciated?
Can I ask you a question about?
Yeah, please.
Well, not about bullying. This is total segue.
We got a couple minutes.
Watched your show that you were on Discovery Channel, The Ultimate Ninja Warrior. I was very curious about this because I've spent time in Vision Quest and stuff. Like, why didn't you guys eat the trees and plants? Were you guys told you couldn't eat the trees and plants?
No, we did. We ate some plants.
They just didn't show that.
They didn't show a lot of things in the editing process. I think there's a lot of chiefs and not enough Indians at Discovery.
Right.
Maybe that's what's going on. But there was a lot of suffering, a lot more than the show showed.
Yeah.
It was absolutely freezing. We were cold, freezing, wet, and hungry the whole time. Sometimes 4 days with no sleep, no food.
Yeah.
We maybe had 2,000 calories in the month.
Right.
With some rice portions that we had to find water for, boil, cook ourselves, make the fire. Yeah. It was an extraordinary experience. It really taught me a lot about the human will and also like the power of it, and also human frailty, just how insignificantly, totally small we are. But, you know, this other paradox of how actually like juxtapose really how powerful we are and how, you know, our human will push us through situations. And I remember wanting to quit so bad. And I thought, if I go and I'm talking to kids, you know, or adults or people about just not quitting on their life, not committing suicide in those situations, then I really need to push through. And I realized that really difficult situations and times and pain and suffering is temporary. And we can get through it. I mean, human beings, we are so powerful. We're also significant. You die, the world keeps going on. People set their alarm clocks, they get up the next day. Like there's traffic on the 405.
Yeah.
But you know, we're really capable of so much more than we realize. And I think that when you are tested in certain ways, I mean, I wish everybody could go through that experience. Is tormenting, and I would never do it again as it was. It really it calmed me in a weird way. And it gave me a different level of power in my soul and in my mind and in my mindset. And it really has enabled me and forced me to want to share that and to help people tap into that without having to go through that. And, you know, I don't know that they can all do that, but I think that if you can break it down in details and see somebody's strength and then see their weaknesses and help them make that weakness a strength and encourage them not to be afraid to do that, taking 2 steps back to get 10 forward. I've seen really amazing results with people, and I think that kind of finding my way into this space, you wish that you could be there 20 years ago, and you're like, with everything that you've ever done and how you would go about it now or what you would do. So it's fun to take young people or athletes or, you know, people in the entertainment industry and to be able to give them that perspective to just really go for it and just don't care, you know, and to influence people by just living that way and being that way and having done these challenges. If I'm going to go surf a 25-foot wave at Waimea, I'm scared to death. Am I doing the smartest thing? Maybe not. But have I prepared myself for it? Have I been doing this all my life? Am I ready?
Yeah.
We're not always just perfectly going to be ready.
Yeah.
But preparation mentally is really where things, where you can capitalize on just about anything, I believe.
Absolutely.
And so mindset is what I do. I'm writing a mindset book now. I think I put out that other book, True from the Inside Out, which was kind of my story. And it's evolved since then. That was a work in progress. And I just try to just be real and say it the way I feel like things need to be said. People deserve it to be said, which is just perfectly honest. I mean, I have a lot of work to do still. I have a lot of evolving to do. I have a lot of things to still do for myself. I'm still learning how to take care of myself and to feel worthy of doing that. I don't always feel good enough. I don't always feel that I've really tapped into the value of myself. And
I want you to give a good close look at that bullshit idea you have of yourself, and then just kind of can it as quickly as
and that's
possible.
okay. Yeah.
But listen, Danielle, that's Danielle Martin, everybody. That's Suzanne Toro.
Yeah.
And this is JoyScore.
And you are thomasardavany.
And you've been listening
yes.
to JoyScore.
Tom's the bomb.
Yeah, Tom's the bomb. But we've been so blessed to have you here.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm blessed too.
And when you write another book or you do something else great that you need to report, we're here to give you a platform to do that. It's been an absolute blessing.
Thank you.
So good to see you again, and wish you the best in all of your endeavors. And I'm here at your service.
Thank you. I'm
Keep
here
up
at
the
your
great
service.
work.
Yep. Thank you.
If you're being bullied, find this woman.
Find me. Strategy session and mindset, anything.
TrueBoundaries.org. You want a freaking free scholarship to learn
TrueBoundaries.com, True Boundaries Charitable Foundation.org.
I put the link here.
whatever she just said.
Yeah,
But
and
if you
find me. Talk to me.
And go kick ass. She'll give you a year of martial arts for free. Then when you go back to school, you can kick some
Badassery lessons.
Well, it's not even just free. Just know that.
No, I work with high school kids and college kids.
What is it really? All you're empowering somebody to the point where they feel like it's okay to be. That's it. It's okay to be.
To me, you're teaching people how to be
It's
aware,
okay
which
to
if
be.
you learn to be an EMT
I'm helping them
or
organize.
a firefighter or a martial artist.
Body, mind, spirit. I mean, I mean, you have you had that right before you took a martial arts class. But you go to a martial arts class and you feel the empowerment, and all of a sudden
you put on some pajamas and a belt, and you feel amazing.
put on 15 pounds and learn how to choke somebody out. You're free.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
It's all relative.
Danielle Martin,
It's the answer. It's the answer.
Run Sonny's next to promo.
The two of them, 1 and 2, the Tinker and the
Tinker, right.
Don't need to worry about what I do with that boy.
He's obsessing over that blasted machine.
Why won't you work?
I bet I could fix it. These crystals were my father's. Crystals hold energy. If you learn to listen, you can hear their sounds.
You look to the stars. A lot of people say fools look to the stars.
This could emit an energy field that goes on not just for miles, but hundreds of miles. It's not about blood. It's about accepting an opportunity to do what's right by another human being. I can accept that same responsibility and do what's right.
We're here today because your sister Marianne Corrigan passed away. Now it's up to you whether or not you want to be Kyle's guardian.
What happens to him if I don't take him?
We'll place him inside of foster care.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll take him, yeah.
Perfect.
Is there a guy outside?
He's just a fella that helped me out with a few things around the house.
Who's is this?
It's my daddy's.
Where's your daddy?
He ain't around anymore.
Is he where my mother is?
that for me?
Well, I can give it a shot.
I don't like living with Grady. He never plays with me. He's always in the workshop or away.
God! Get away from there! You need to do that boy the same way. You don't need to worry about what I do with that boy.
He's obsessing over that blasted machine.
Why won't you work?
I bet I could fix it.
These crystals were my father's. Crystals hold energy. If you learn to listen, you can hear their sounds.
You look to the stars. A lot of people say fools look to the stars.
This could emit an energy field that goes on not just for miles, but hundreds of miles.
Thomas, let us know if we need to adjust anything going this direction.
Are we ready? We live? Hey, welcome back to Joy Score, guys. We got Tommy Bhramayana, and we got Sonny Marler.
Bhramayana.
I like Tommy Bhramayana.
I like saying your names. I'll correct it.
Bhramayana.
Bhramayana. Bhramayana, right?
Bhramayana.
He's messing you up. He's really
Bhramayana.
Bhramayana.
Brahma means
we got Sonny.
Hindu god.
We have Sonny and Tom in here, and these guys are great filmmakers because they have the proof in the pudding in the Tinker film that I got to witness when I was in Florida, and I think the thing won some awards. Actually, that one somehow it didn't win an award because these guys are asses. But I think you've got like how many awards have you guys accumulated now? 20, 30.
We have 19 best ofs with 29, I think 25 nominations.
19 best ofs with 29 nominations. This film is kicking butt. So, how did you guys find each other to make this wonderful movie? What was the origins? What were the beginnings of this journey that you guys took together between writer, director, and writer producer?
Well, let Sonny take that.
Yeah. So there was this writer Sean Hughes that I had met in L.A. through another friend, Sean Ferris, and he moved back to Louisiana. He had this wonderful script, Zombie Plantation, and I got brought down to the bayou, and we dove into pre-production. I met Tom, and the story was really good.
Tom never produced a movie before, did you? You had to break him in, didn't you?
I did have to break him in on some of the things, but Tom is a machine when it comes to the administration. But as soon as he got a camera in his hand, I remember the very first picture I think that hit him in the heart, and it was a picture he took with a long exposure.
Oh my God!
It was such a beautiful picture, and from that point on, he picked up editing just like that. He picked up the camera, he got the bug, and then I was staying at Tom's, and the relationship was new, and we were getting to know each other, and our common denominator was this soul searching, faith, purpose. So in this zombie plantation story, I was looking for the love, looking for the heart of the story. And, back then I had this whole motif of this spirit cam, and Tom is sitting there typing out my shot list, and I'm bouncing around the room, and I got this shot list coming out of my head, and I don't know, it just felt right. Like he understood me.
You understood him? Good Lord have mercy.
No.
How the hell did you do that?
He delegated.
He delegated?
He delegated well.
Well, he delegated. So this was like, whenever a movie comes out, it's just not like the 2 years it took or the 2.5 years it took. Like every film you make is really a lifetime of experience moving into a moment where you get to create something. And you had a hand in the writing. I still don't know. You had the hand in the writing. So who had the drive of the story initially? Was it Tom's drive?
Well,
initially
it was a story that I wrote 100 pages before I got to the first page.
67 scrap napkins.
Yeah, so 67 pages, from
scrap napkins
from you. My my process is always evolving. It's always in
course,
development, of course. So, you know, my strongest resource was what I learned from you many years ago as an actor. And so this was my first time truly writing something that was going to be brought to life on the page. So I had to go back and understand these characters. So I wrote, you know, who their grandfathers were and, you know, how they knew each other from.
Well, you didn't throw away those napkins, right? Because
No.
you have like you have three features in those napkins.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
three prequels to your Tinker film.
It really is. Yeah, it's just a bigger budget.
So that's interesting. So he gave you a big ball of history, and then what the heck gave you the chutzpah to think that you could just go off and write an appropriate script?
It was a lot. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of you know, trying to find the good story that could actually create an arc that not just started off good, but also ended with a uplifting tone.
Well, there was the whole point with Beasts of the Southern Wild,
right?
And Clayne gets this credit. Clayne and I were talking. He wanted the father, and you know, Clayne had contacted me about doing a film with his son, and you know, my son was a few years younger than his at the time, and so I was like, yeah, of course, I can write about that. Where were we? I started talking about my son.
You're talking about your son?
No,
and
yeah.
Clayne.
Yeah, so when Clayne called me about writing that, what was the question?
Well, we went different directions because Beasts of the Southern Wild at the time.
the payoff. So, you know, that was Joey's example.
Why I'm here.
Yeah.
Example. So he's like, so find your payoff. So to me, I was like, okay, that makes sense. All right, what do I know about? Well, I study, you know, from my grandmother's influence, you know, Tesla and energy and sound and these metaphysical things, and so this wireless transmission of electricity and this payoff of this machine and this character that developed from that was a tinkerer, and so that payoff is what really got us sitting down. There's a picture of us when we first started writing this story together, sitting in Birmingham downtown, and we just bounced off each other for a little bit, and then he's so structured. He was able to get that thing in the final draft and make scenes out of my, you know, you've read my descriptions.
Well, no, I love your notes. Your notes are quite, they're genius. So, but you had listen, this is what's cool, is that this is a true indie production, and that, hey, we got concept, we got people that want to make a movie. What movie are we going to make? And then you have a bunch of collaboration that's coming from the talent, coming from your innate, probably, hey, ignorance is bliss on a certain level, my brother.
Well, what was the payoff?
Ignorance is bliss, because if you're just jumping into a thing that you've never gotten yourself into and you're just having fun, that's awesome.
Well, the best part about that is that in reality, coming in, I could do more good than I could make mistakes.
Well, listen,
that's a good place to be in.
What's cool is you're both faith-based individuals. In other words, your spirit and your soul, and how you see the world, and how you're going to serve the world through your craft is very much alive in both of you, and that's the driving force to do it, I would imagine, right? So I mean, what else? Why else would we want to even take a step unless the thing had a heart or something to deliver that's going to transport people to another place to hopefully help them reflect on the good things in life or some aspect of themselves, right?
It's the alchemy.
Right. So there's really no reason for you guys to even make another movie until you have that reason in place. Unless there's a heart and a soul and that's going to allow for this another collaboration to take place, correct?
Correct. And there's plenty of stories that we are reading right now, and definitely a few that we want to happen. But you know, you give me anything, and I've got the people around me like Tom, and Tom has me around him. We're going to find the heart and the soul in whatever you give us.
Well, I think what makes it easier is that whenever you actually start working on a project, I've seen people, I'm from Baton Rouge, New Orleans area, had a big independent film scene, then the studio scene came in. Problem we see people really
closer to the mic.
Yeah, stay close to the mic.
The problem we see is that people are mailing their film in. They're not getting the full commitment. Tinker wasn't something that was just created the first year that we shot. We actually nurtured it. We grew it. It evolved
on set
over a 2-year period, in editing, in post. We've worked on this project since November 2013.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, to get a film through from concept out the other
takes
end,
time.
It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot
especially
of
on
But you have to have intent. You can't just go off and say I'm going to make a movie and this is going to be like on the way here. Sonny was like, "Man, some people just say I should make a short," and he looks at me, he's like, "I don't want to make a short." But it's in his vein right now. It's in his vein,
I'm so ready to get back on set. I can't.
Well, help us understand that. Now, I know you guys in the last several years have had some challenges with the whole production, and when was the darkest, and how did you guys? Tom, how did you keep everybody together? 'Cause that's what a producer's supposed to do, right?
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. I think I did a little bit more on this because we were limited funds wise, and then of course we
said you did a little bit more. It means you were building sets.
I was building.
Oh, he
sets.
was building a lot of stuff.
Teamwork.
You built a badass.
Yeah, he did.
Sitting through color, being able to sit down with our composer, sound guys. We had great sound people. The people were, Paul Knox. They did Dallas Buyers Club. So we had some good team members. My post-production supervisor really brought some talent to the table, which helped a ton. But I never done all this. So like I said, going in, I was able to say, this is what we want. Sonny would watch it. He'd give me some notes.
Well, see,
and then all of a sudden, here we start colliding.
Yeah.
He wanted Fred Durst.
Well, okay. So during post, that was definitely some dark times. But
well, isn't this the case always? The creator has a vision, and so it's hard to have other people that are helping you execute.
No, it's not hard. That's not hard. I like people helping me to execute it. It's being 9 hours away from where it's being executed. It's not being there all the time. So anyway, the notes were very intense. Every character to me had their own sound, had their own frequency, had their own vibration that was distorted, that came into a harmony. So my notes weren't normal notes. So it was more beneficial when I was there, but it was also beneficial when I wasn't there. And Tom was able to take the reins and say, "This is what he wants. Now let's get there the best way we can on this number with this."
I'm curious because you guys talked about the payout. Like, what's the payout? Payoff, sorry.
Yeah.
And so, can you share what you thought it was? And then now seeing everyone's reaction, like I know from watching it, it definitely had an impact on me. Can you share what you thought it was? And is it still the same, or did it change?
The one thing stayed the same, the macro and the micro payoff.
Yeah, I mean, the movie's not what I envisioned it when we were writing it. I know it's not what Sonny envisioned it whenever he was directing it and we were writing it. But we've come to the understanding that our collaboration, really created something special. And just to be able to revel in that, has been very eye-opening, because people are coming to us and giving us the reaction we were hoping for.
Right.
But when we released this film, we were like, I don't know, dude. What are they going to say, man? I mean, this is not your traditional film, man. We were worried. We were worried, because we loved it. We loved the story. We think there's a lot of heart.
There is a lot of heart. People walk out of that theater crying.
And uplifted.
And enlightened. And every good thing that could possibly happen from a movie, you basically lay in their lap if they go in there and see really what's there and experience what you guys gave them. It is a smorgasbord of emotion. It is multi-layered. It makes you process on many different layers. It's a true theatrical experience, and that's why you're sitting here, and people need to know more of who you are, and they need to let you make more movies, because that's an important piece of cinema that you created.
Well, we didn't stay in a boundary. A lot of people, because of some of the content we have,
right?
They say, "Oh, you got to stay contained here, stay safe." And because of the way Sonny grew up with his grandmother,
Sonny, stay safe. Are you kidding? If he ain't, the reason why he's outside the box. He lives outside the box. You have to stay inside the box only because you have a family that you got to keep a roof over your head.
That's my drive. That's my drive.
Have to do that. We can be outside the box all the time because it was cold outside the box, but we wouldn't be any other place except outside the box. And the moment somebody gets us, our game is up, and there's no reason to even put pen to paper, because if it doesn't come from that magical place, if you're not sourcing from the infinite, then your story's not worth shit.
Oh, man. Ring a bell. Ring a bell.
Ring a bell, man.
Ring a bell.
You get a little joy score there, Thomas.
Well, the thing is, every
Bhramayana got a joy score.
Every artist knows that, but every artist needs people that can restructure and put it in a form that it can get to an audience, that it can actually recoup its. But as long as that magic is there, and it is in spades, then you've got something that's got an infinite shelf life for humans to consume. And that's the one thing a fear-based producer will never get. They will never have eyes for it. Only an artist will have eyes for it, and a captive audience that doesn't have expectations and requirements before they walk into that theater. That's your audience.
Yeah.
And those are the people, because you guys had faith, and you're a faith-based man. And
trust.
I know that you have
Trust
faith
and
in the process, because there wouldn't be anything in it for you if you couldn't experience it yourself. You don't need somebody to tell you if it's there or not. That's the difference that's what makes you a great director. You don't need anybody to say, "Oh, it's happening." Can you please tell me if it's actually happening? No, you have to tell other people that it is happening, because they got blinders on, and say, "It's happening here. Just trust it. Watch what the audience does. Have faith." Right? Isn't that our entire struggle?
Yes.
In this world.
Yes.
And
just have faith and trust.
He said that so much. Just trust me.
Just trust me. Just please.
Well, it's easy to look at it from a structural perspective. This guy's out of his freaking mind.
Well,
nothing happened.
I'm like, I trust you. I trust you. But can we get the shot on the shot list today?
Yes. Maybe.
Yes, and that's the insanity of great film, is that there has to be somebody sourcing.
Oh, we can't wait to do.
If people cannot source, then you're not going to, first of all, have any of these creative challenges. It won't be any fun, and it won't be any meat for the audience to chew on after they leave the theater.
Well, that push and pull helps.
Yes, it does. It's absolutely a requirement. There's nothing cushy about the dynamic of a relationship, but the two creators, one from a more pragmatic perspective, like, can we just be able to get this in today? Or we'll be able to get that shot in today? Do we have to
We didn't have that much pre-production to actually think like that. So it was literally.
How many days did you shoot it in?
I saw you guys lighting your sets with campfires. Isn't that how you were lighting your shots?
No, we actually. My DP, Brian, the DP, Brian Purvis. We've worked everything that I've done, as a filmmaker, for the past 15 years has been with Ryan. And so we have all these little rigs that we've built over the years, zip lines before there were drones. We had zip lines. So those shots, the shots in the film, we actually have zip lines. None of that's drones except for the one,
cool.
for the effects. That's zip lines, yeah. So, we have this little light rig that we do for campfires. So we broke it out.
Yeah.
So how many days did you shoot?
I got pictures with campfires in it.
Yeah, man. Well, that's a scene that was.
Okay.
I thought it was so low budget that that's how you were lighting your scenes.
Oh no, we did.
And then we lit a forest fire.
We did. I wanted a lot of practical lighting. I wanted to rely on practical lighting. Ryan is a old school film cinematographer, so of course he wanted the big HMIs and but which paid off in a lot of scenes. But I really wanted to have practical lighting as much as possible because of those Kowa lenses and the natural flare they gave.
Well, it was amazing how beautiful that is. I'm surprised, given the low light circumstances based on the production shots that I saw that you were able to capture what you did capture and the quality that you did capture it.
Well, the guy that was doing the post, Hector, he actually was impressed because the blacks didn't crunch up real bad.
Right.
Instead, it looked like film. And he was like, man, I just can't believe how rich the texture is. And with Ryan being an old school, cinematographer, we were looking for a camera package, we were looking for a lens package, and they went to old school cameras right there, I believe, in Burbank, and all of a sudden, he's like, you're not going to like the price. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, then don't get it. But it was like he already got to Sonny before he got to me.
Oh, shit. That a boy, Sonny.
Yep. Well, he sent me a...
good call. It was a good call.
Yeah, it was a good
call.
It was
an amazing call.
It's same lenses that were used on Rocky 1 and Godfather 2.
Same style.
Yeah.
Same color.
Wonderful. Beautiful. So you got this film out. We're going to go see it Friday night. It's showing all day there that Friday, right?
Yeah, we have a full week run. Yep.
Ticket. Oh, you got a full week.
We have a full week at Playhouse 7.
We have a full week at Lemley in Pasadena at Playhouse 7 with Tinker. And if you want to see this thing on the big screen, which I highly recommend that you see it on the big screen because there's nothing like that surround sound, and they put so much energy into the sound design.
The sound.
It's so beautiful.
Just don't watch it on your computer.
Don't watch it on. He said, "Don't watch it on your computer."
I can attest.
And
I
tell you
watched
what,
it on
if you
my
watch
computer.
Yeah, you
and still
did.
have an
That's
impact.
right.
Yeah, wear your headphones, please.
You wear good quality headphones, and you'll be able to actually. A lot of that sound design takes us on that journey. So, we got listeners out here. They don't know what the hell you're talking about, lenses and dark things, and you got aspiring filmmakers and all of that stuff. So, anything that, any words of wisdoms, any pearls you can drop on aspiring filmmakers. People that want to make their own movie, people that are thinking about it.
What
advice do you got for them?
Yeah, you go, Tom.
No, you can go.
Yeah, I got to clear my throat on this one, but
you go.
Go ahead, Sonny. You take the rein.
All right. Well,
how do you stay out of the box?
Well, he pushed me out of the box a long time ago. I haven't been able to get back in.
Get Thomasardavany on your team.
Yeah. Tom and I have we built this phone. So, anyway,
it's a great phone. So that's a good. Basically, what you just said. It's a good start. Find somebody that understands the essence of what this process is about.
Well,
it's
and
about
who you are.
About telling the human journey, right?
Yeah, about telling the human journey. And a story is the greatest. Da Vinci, the first time I ever really noticed Da Vinci was in your acting class, many years ago. Da Vinci had an alchemy to his paintings that had layers of symbolism. And when you understand anthology and sociology and everything about yourself and who you are in your environment, and then you have this story. Well, inside that story, what makes it timeless is who you are. So understanding who you are each day is a journey itself, and then being able to tell a story from your perspective that can relate to everyone and become timeless. It's in the alchemy of the story, the symbolism that lies in the subtext, in the props, in the environment, in the relationships. It's that's the outside of the box answer to aspiring filmmakers. He can give you a good answer.
Well, that's really important. You basically said study yourself, study humanity,
know who you are,
know thyself,
become a student of the game in relation to how people engage, how they interact, understand the basic principles of communication. It's one thing anybody can learn the skill set of making a movie. And we see a lot of that. And we see a lot of empty films. We might see fun films. We might see spectacle films. We might see what do they call it? Grunge. Grunge. What is it like?
Just gritty.
Grunge house. Where they're sort of poking fun and sort of a farcical look at humanity and the extreme violence that we do to each other.
And they have that audience, So I mean,
I'm not dissing the genre, but if you want to make that genre great, you still need to understand what's making people tick. And that informs your decisions as a director. If you don't understand what you're trying to how you're trying to connect the dots here, you won't really have much to say. You won't know what lens to pick. You won't know what lighting to pull from. You won't know a location if it feels right. You won't know. You won't be able to cast an actor if you don't have a sensibility about what's actually happening in that piece in terms of how people are treating each other or how they may behave or why it's important for them to. So your informed decisions have to do with this outside the box perspective.
This craft, filmmaking, film, stories, books, but films, and if such a strong influence on the world right now, and it's the most powerful craft right now in this time in history, that it's extremely important that it can never be saturated. You know, there's all these, you know, new platforms and filmmakers, but as long as people just have a story to tell that's the archetypes of man, and we learn something from it. So it's
still relevant because regardless of the circumstances, there's changing technologies. We still have to relearn the same darn lessons as human beings,
right?
Within whatever circumstances.
Sometimes many times over.
Right. So what do you got from a producer perspective?
Well, I would encourage anybody interested in getting into this as far as to find some enlightenment, to end up doing some good, you know, for humankind, to tell the great story, whatever it is, do it. I see too many people wait for that opportunity. And luckily for me, I had an opportunity, and although I didn't have experience in it, I studied it. I interviewed people. I talked to people. I watched behind the scenes. And I knew how important every single take was. It wasn't just going in and checking a box. I know that's my job, is to check a box.
Yeah, but no, it's gone way beyond that.
But we got to a point to where it was a purpose. It was purposeful.
I don't want
do something. If you're going to do this, do something that's purposeful. But right now, for the generation that's wanting to make movies, we were talking about this in the green room today. You have more at your disposal to make and tell stories through moving picture than anybody running around with an 8mm or 16mm
but
ever did. Look, how many people had like miles of 16mm but unedited?
Yeah.
How many people did? That's actually you did.
I think a lot did. I think there were a lot of kids that used
this guy right here.
The telecine process was expensive back then. It cost you $5,000 just to get your little film through.
It's the work.
Process.
It's the work.
Right.
This guy right here is communicating with our distributors in a way that I could never communicate with.
Well, I mean, it's a passion, though. I can understand if we end up doing a campy movie and said, "Oh, thank God somebody picked it up." No, for us, it was like, did you watch the movie? No, but we love the trailer. We love the website. Okay, wait a second. Back up. You didn't watch our movie.
And you're thinking about distributing it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Look, and I get it. They had a great point. Well, you know, a lot of them said, hey, look, you know, the problem is that we don't want to judge your movie because if we judge it off of a handful of opinions in this building, we might miss the boat because it's the audience. So we don't want to taint that.
That's lame.
Okay, so hold on.
But he's got a point.
But our thing was this. No, you need to know who it is because we have a targeted audience. We know who our audience is. We know who we want to touch. I got into this because I wanted to make a difference in lives. I feel that my regular career as a real estate agent, it's a ministry. I am trusted with their retirement. I'm trusted with where their kids are going to go to school. I'm trusted. Same thing in film. If you're going to watch this, first off, I want my mama to be able to see it. Okay, so, you know, we're going to leave a few things out, you know. So, but I mean, but that's just, you know, that's what happened. So anyway,
we'll teach them about that.
We did something meaningful, and I knew that if I'm going to, and thank God, because I mean, I wouldn't want to be on a 5-year project and not be proud of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you one thing. You're lucky to have him because I've had projects completely not get done because we had incapable or somebody who was pretending to be a producer and didn't produce, didn't get the paper signed, didn't follow through, didn't manage the money, didn't care. All they cared about was saying that they were a producer and they weren't actually a producer. And at that time that I was spending a lot of money making film, I believed them. And
I was there too. My first experience.
First 2 features and a short couldn't get done because I didn't have an actual legitimate producer, And I just had people that came from producer families that said they were producers and just blew a bunch of smoke up.
You got to do the work
and killed us, and they didn't want to.
There's
do
no
the
way
work.
around it.
No.
I'll tell you what. I tell you from a creative perspective, once you write something, you've worked your ass off. That's an achievement in itself. You finish a script, right? Once you go into pre-production, you get through pre-production. That's like finishing a script. That's a whole nother process. Once you get into production, that's a freaking whole nother process. Once you get into post-production, it's like these are like
every one of them.
It's like 9 lives.
It is every one of them.
There's not a producer there like holding the hand when the creative runs out of gas and he can't get out of bed and he's sick and he's taken to the hospital and he's in rehab.
Oh my gosh!
On the last phase,
let's paint a pretty picture
on the last phase of the thing. Guess who's got to pull the thing through to the end?
Yeah,
the producer.
The producer.
And so without
the
creative doesn't
suffering. I suffered depression for what? For a little while during post.
Well, you guys took what, 6 years?
You asked
5 or 6 years?
It was 4.5 years.
Doesn't
it was
matter.
a couple years writing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
you
Del
had a
Toro
question
said
earlier,
6.
though. One of the luxuries that we actually had was we had 2 productions. We had one production that started off with a very, shoestring budget, and we filmed 16 days.
Okay.
That was the very first round.
Yeah.
Luckily, we were able to go together. Ryan and Sonny put together some cuts, to a sizzle reel, like an 8-minute sizzle reel to show them what we did. And then we were able to get the actors, Clayne Crawford, Christian Kane, looked at it and said, okay, we have something, but it wasn't full. It wasn't, completion of character stories, arcs. And we were able to come back and add another 15 days in production on it.
Because this band right here, based on that footage, set up a Kickstarter campaign. We raised $100,000.
Woo!
And doing
I get a bell.
You get a bell. Doing a Kickstarter campaign is a full-time job.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And I was like, "What can I do, man? Come on, give me a job." I could have designed the T-shirts a little bit better.
There's still time for that. We need some post-production T-shirts, Sonny.
Hey, I do all the
you're getting some T-shirts.
I do the graphics. You
do.
Too,
you do.
Yeah.
Well, listen. So there you go. There's the relationship between a director and a producer in one respect in terms of indie filmmaking. And I where do you see it? So the next
Can
level,
I ask you a question about the movie?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go into production, because the thing I've been promoting the movie to the audience, so a lot of people that are watching may not be filmmakers, might be storytellers, I don't know, but can you share, because it really cracks your heart open, like in a way it brings you to center of your own truth. And Sonny, if you can bring a little bit, and I have a question for both of you, a little bit about your use of frequency, because I work with sound, and in that film you definitely at certain times were playing around with certain frequencies to touch the audience.
Yeah.
And then for Tom, I want to know if you've cried at your movie yet, because you said that to me a long time ago.
We cried during post.
Oh, good. Well, he said, I want to come out of the theater and cry. So, Sonny, if you could talk about frequency first, though.
Well, it all started off with the frequency of love, which was 528 at the time. It was and this is actually
the frequency of love is 528.
That's So 528. We vibrate at 528. A blade of grass vibrates at 528, and the sun and the earth. Or I think the sun does.
Nature, yeah.
Yeah, so all of nature, all biological organisms vibrate at 528 hertz. So I started reading this book.
Basically, that's the Joy Score
formula.
Is 528.
So in
I love the enlightenment here.
Yeah.
I'm all thinking we're gonna tap in some frequencies during the show, some white noise.
Yeah, 528, man. It's a beautiful sound. So and the geometry those sounds make, which is a whole thing I can't get into, but with the frequencies, I started reading this book, Children of the Fifth World, and it was talking about how kids that are born after 2008 have more access to their DNA. They can hear sounds and see more light than we can. And this author that wrote this book ended up being a friend of my grandmother's.
Oh, there
and she's in the film.
She made a cameo,
beautiful.
yeah.
What's the book's name again?
Children of the Fifth World.
It was PMH Atwater.
PMH Atwater.
Oh, he spent a lot of time with the Hopis.
Oh, yeah. PMH Atwater is an older woman.
Okay, then not
you're talking about Horowitz.
Not Horowitz, another guy.
It was another, I know who you're talking about. But Children of the Fifth World is a beautiful book, and it talks about how children today have, the veil of the magic is more. It's the magic of this earth is coming alive, and it's through these kids that are being born, because we're in a whole new position in space and all this stuff. So these kids that are coming in are like new souls straight out of heaven. So you see all this kindness in these kids today. It's overwhelming how beautiful, these children are. And so, that was so important to me to, not to make this film about sci-fi stuff. It was really just how magical children are, and how much we can learn from who they are, and what it means to be a father is to listen.
Beautiful.
And that's pretty much that's the heart and soul of the film.
Yeah. Well, there's that story of overcoming and communication and tolerance and extending a kind hand, but you were doing something else at the same time. You were touching everyone's soul.
With the frequencies?
With the frequencies. It was really powerful.
Well, if we had gotten to do everything we wanted to do with the frequencies, it was, we really...
Well, you might have then need therapy sessions afterwards. So I think you did it perfect. Like, you crack open the heart, but not so much that you're like, whoa!
Right. You don't want to send people to therapy. I guess you're right.
Well, we've had some people, reflect from it, and really it opened up their eyes. It inspired them to be more. I mean, we're born with purpose. It's not until you actually learn something that you start losing that purpose. You actually are no longer shaped the way God intended you to be. You're actually broke down, you're chiseled because of the way people talk down to you, the way people disrespect you, the way people, disrespect the ones that you love, the opinions that they feed you. And that blackens what is pure when you're born. So Kai represents that purity. He had a nurturing mom.
Programmed.
And then
before programmed.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we end up in a moment to where we're doubting ourselves. On the way here, I was telling Sonny, I said, it was profound. One day I was listening to a speaker, and she said, the only thing you can control about yourself is your attitude. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I guess. Well, yeah, it's my attitude. Even if I get a leg, lobbed off in the war, or even if I lose a loved one, it's still my attitude. How am I going to go ahead and accept that in my life and be able to grow from it? Or I can go ahead and withdraw and, never overcome it. And I cannot, and you know how it is. Overcoming is always growth.
Absolutely. Adversity. We just had our guest talking about adversity.
Yeah, beautiful boy. Nick, the real kid. Karen and I knew him.
Wow.
The boy in the film. The boy the story's written about. And Nick, when Nick got sober, the last conversation he had was with Karen at our apartment.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He came
awesome.
over to pay her back. She had loaned him money to go have lunch, to go eat lunch or something, but obviously he wasn't going to eat lunch. And he came and paid her back.
Aww.
And from there, and I walked in, and he was about to leave, but they had been sitting there talking for about 30 minutes. And he was saying how he was going to get sober, and
wow,
this is a powerful movie.
Yeah,
because it takes you through the
small world, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really wish I could have directed that.
So what was your question?
Yeah, did you cry yet at your movie? Are you going to cry Friday with us?
I tell you what, it's funny is because I have to step away from it.
Yeah,
I had to step away from it for a long time because I'm always. I mean, I was actually watching, every single edit that was coming off,
right,
just to make sure the sound was syncing and make sure everything was right and the music came in at the right spot and that we didn't have an issue with this sound here or this sound design.
What about the phone call?
Once I stepped away once I stepped away from it, and then I watched it, I really started getting the warm and fuzzies like an audience member. It really was fun. And especially, just the other day, we watched it on DCP in a theater in THX, and it was just like...
Around people, like at my hometown, it was such a magical night.
Oh, my God.
It was so cool. You know, my family, my friends, and they've never understood what I do. Or, you know, back home, I'm Sonny, and, you know, I'm Sonny. There's a confusion of what I do and who I am, but I don't think there is anymore.
Yeah,
you know, there was a lot of validity that came into my life the other day.
Aw,
being able to show your baby.
My life was actually validated.
Aw.
Well, a lot of times you can only,
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, your art makes you an outcast. Your artistry makes you an outcast because it's not something that you can just talk about to somebody. They'll just look at you out the side of their face like, okay, do I want to go fishing? Yeah, that's really interesting, Sonny. Are you okay? We could get you checked in or something, but we could go fishing after you're done. But so I understand exactly what you're talking about. But there's also, you know, you've chosen a lonely path only because what you're manifesting and all the tools that you understand that you can use to create an illusion of life are yours. You know, not everybody understands how to see the world in such a way or to look at something and understand all that goes into creating that magic for somebody watching it. And that's taken, you know, that takes time. But it's not ever really to be understood by somebody inside the box. Only outside the box do you have that freedom to assemble and see how it can be done. And that's the difference between a director and a regular person, is that we don't look at things like if it can be done. We already see how it can be done. We already know how we can do it and understand all the parts of that puzzle. And that's what allows you to make your decisions. And that's what makes a real director. And that's the thing that separates you from 99.99% of all the people that will attempt to direct anything, is because you have that innate sense of enjoyment to also watch it become manifest.
Oh gosh, but it's something happened where now I read a story and it's instant.
I know.
I can see and hear everything, and honestly, you know, we talk about in the box and out of the box. This guy right here, I think these frequencies have created a little portal.
Yeah.
Because he can come in and out of the box anytime he wants, and it's just so important to have.
Well, that makes him a real producer.
A real producer.
Because if you can't gain some insight and step outside the box to get in touch with you, he won't be able to trust you.
No, and I mean, I can even see him directing his own films one day.
Heck yeah.
You know, but absolutely. But it's just I don't consider anytime somebody refers to me as a producer, I see, and although I considered a producer because I knew the actors
produced.
But a producer does so much more. That's a title that is earned, just like a director title is earned through life and experience and you know,
vision,
and this, just being, So, but being a producer, it's nice to have one that come in and out of the box with you. Yeah.
Hey, I got a story, Tom. When we first started off, we actually had our crew, and we knew that we wanted to get to know everybody, you know, on set to see how we could work along together. They asked me if I had sides, okay? And they were upset because I didn't have sides, but I was like, sides? What are you talking about?
Like collard greens,
mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese. I mean, look at that crafty cart, doggone it. And Clayton just is kind of like looking at me. I'm like, oh, we're not using a script today.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, you know the scene in Mana's scene in the AA and the when he breaks down and tells his story. Yeah, I wrote that 30 minutes before. We called out. Well, I wrote about an hour before, and Wilmer Calderon, I knew because there had to be a
nailed it.
Each character represented, and it was unfortunate that some of the story arcs weren't able to be completed in these characters, but that's okay. But Mana represent. So the name Mana is it's the energy of life, of the divine. So it's the source of the divine that feeds your soul. That's what Mana means. That's what Mana is. That's how the Israelites survived.
They lived off of the Mana.
They lived off of the Mana. And so I named that character Mana because he represented the most painful element of life. If you are a father or mother or parent,
he was the most mysterious.
And I knew Wilmer could bring it. I knew he could bring it. And when I wrote that down, and he picks it up, and I'm like, I need you to do this. And he's like, and of course he wants to make Joey laugh, or Clayne. And so he makes Clayne laugh, but then he sits with it, gets in there, and I'm like talking to Ryan. I'm like, get the diopters out, this and that. So anyway, he nailed it. And I knew he could bring that element of pain. So every character represented that one point of view. Because we are reflections, who we surround ourselves are reflections of ourselves. So people are going to represent your emotions as long as you recognize that they're representing this reflection of you, then you can understand who you are a little bit more.
And certain people actually...
Well, that's a 400 level film class. So that's a graduate level dissertation on your own particular sensitivities to casting, and that's a graduate level or human level perspective and insight into what a good director sees. And so listening to you talk about it, it's almost impossible to talk about because these are things that you sense in the person that you're working with, and what you can ask of them in a certain moment, and what you realize you're not going to get from somebody in a certain moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's advanced. That's a very intuitive, present assessment of, and in this case, the people you cast are just like your camera. Mm-hmm. These are elements that are going into conveying the energetic life of people and circumstances to tell a particular story. That's very advanced to think the sum accumulation of all the energy that is captured in that frame actually is the thing that's telling the story to my audience. These are all intangibles, right?
Yep.
But if you
no matter who did not understand that, I did.
Right. So you're left to understand a guy that's talking out of both sides of his speaking forked tongue because he's talking outside the box and he's talking practically inside the box, and he's going in both directions at the same time, and you have to figure out how to set up those circumstances for him to try to attempt to realize.
So how'd you do that?
Intangible. You see what I mean? We're all working for this intangible life force that we all know is happening when it's happening, and we're all scratching our heads when it's not happening, trying to get it to happen. And that's pretty much what we're left with in our arts. The artist understands and sees into that, and the people that are providing that either have a foot into that world and going, okay, I feel where he's going, let's give him the tools that he needs to achieve this ethereal moment that an audience can experience to move this particular story along.
The best result. We need the best result.
Right.
Perfect.
And you're trying to realize the potential of the equipment and the people and the location that you have and the time that you have to do it, and that's it, and then we move on. And those opportunities are gone once we move on.
Yeah, each day is I learned that each day is a fleeting day. It's a missed opportunity if you don't take advantage of it.
If you don't follow synchronicities.
Yeah, well, the synchronicities
or the
help.
shot list.
That right there is key. But I mean, the big thing, of course, is to be able to understand what you have to accomplish, in the goal. For me, as doing this and I'm honored to be a part of this. For me, I give it all to God, because whenever it came down to these hard nights and hard, freezing nights, and I'm in the RV and I've got a space heater at my feet saying, I hope I don't kick it down and burn the place up. Okay.
Yeah. I had to sleep on the desk.
I was praying, and I was, praying consistently, just asking for wisdom or asking for guidance. And then I'd let that go and just let that faith take over, because it's not faith if you don't let it go.
Right.
And I actually stepped into it with a confidence level, because I had that type of mindset, that type of attitude. And I just, and I hit it hard.
It was never.
That was a Joy Score.
Beautiful. Yeah, Joy Score. And can I add to that Joy Score?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do believe that, even when Clayton and I were down in Peru, there is a characteristic in filmmaking where no matter how chaotic and how big that storm is, you know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. There is no doubt in your mind. Yeah, like it does not. I mean, the shot list, pre-production, man, I can't wait to have a budget to do that. Oh my God, that's gonna be awesome. But man, it's knowing that you're where you're supposed to be,
right?
And giving it to the universe, to spirit, to God, whatever, however you want to say it. I'm very grateful that I discovered that I had that when I was in Peru, and there was a lot of fear coming out of my buddy that was there with me, which created things that you should have been fearful of, like salmonella. So,
literal things are coming out of him.
So literally, he was manifesting, the fear, and from that moment, in hindsight, I guess it's been there in me, and it just started to wake up when I met you, and it's grown to this point where I am now. But that moment, you need to know, you should know, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. It doesn't matter what's going on.
Well, this is what's interesting. We've had several filmmakers on the show, and it all comes back down to faith. The only way they get through their process is by having that deep faith and having some place to go to trust, and if they have to, step back and let things happen, and then to begin to enjoy the process, whatever the outcome might be.
People say that, but be in that.
Well, these are filmmakers that are making.
Did you go to Peru before or in the middle?
That are making films.
Yeah.
But he
like 10 years ago.
Yeah, but what's cool about what you mentioned about your own progress is that the craft of any art is to pretty much take the human, not extinguish the human, but to invite the human to evolve within a skill set. And so when you showed up, you already had all this wonderful spiritual, mystical understanding of movement of energy, and you got that from your family.
Yeah.
So you stepped into a space with saying, that's the hard part. The hard part is to find that. You already had that. You already had that movement. You already had the movement of your spirit. You're already questing and seeking and understanding the space. The craft that I teach puts that energy into a certain structure and allows you to conscientiously understand perception so that you can make what you want. But the hard part is that part that you already brought to the table. And, Clayton brought that to the table too. Here's probably one of the most talented young men I've ever seen at his age. Emotionally, somehow he had the ability to not have buffered his emotional existence being a alpha male in Alabama football player. How the hell did he manage
baseball?
To keep, baseball. How the hell did he manage to keep his keep that perspective? How did he manage to know that he needed to stay open enough to let that happen? So really,
since we were kids, since we started off with you, and he was 20.
Yeah,
I was 24.
Yeah.
Just out of college. Yeah.
But the point was with him is that he too was bringing energy, wild energy, into a place where it could actually be structured and shared. It wasn't teaching him that.
Yeah.
So we would call that talent, or that's the freedom, or that's the wildness, that's the nature, that nobody can stop you guys from that perspective. In other words, there's no limitation, because that energy is going to move regardless of whatever skill set that you happen to be in. And if it gets turned on itself, it can be very destructive. And since you both have a wonderful outlet, you guys will not perish prematurely due to your energetic forces.
It's kind of cool putting that in as an actor.
But that's art.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the craft, and that's why I just had the privilege of putting that into a structure and inviting that and understanding how you can actually cultivate that. And that's pretty much what this camera does, and that's pretty much what any art class done well does, is invites you to continue to expand within that process.
What you did with us back then was transformative. It's the foundation. It's every time I've thought to myself, I'm a creative guy, and I went to do something creative. I didn't know who I was as a creator, as a co-creator, or I didn't know who I was as an artist for the longest time. Like, I know I'm an artist, but what kind of artist am I? And I'm not, I don't look that good on camera, so I know I'm not an actor.
You are an actor. You acted well.
But yeah, you've always said that. But when
I had you on stage.
Oh yeah,
I saw you live in there. I got you in a wonderful movie called Checkpoint. You kicked ass in that.
Yeah,
so, there's no doubt about that.
With you, it was my best magical moments with acting. But yeah, no, it all started with going back to how you structured opened up our minds to to intentions, to choices, to that come from who you are. Who you are in this character equals truth. So if you ask yourself, if you're not going to be honest with yourself, get the fuck out. Sorry, get out.
It's okay.
But that's who you were, and that's how you taught us. And the day my cat died was a devastating day, and it's not funny, it's real. My cat was my soulmate, and I love my cat, and you made me come to class, and it was one of the most magical moments I had ever experienced in acting. And yeah.
You were able to tap into your emotion.
Yeah, it was the words on the paper were grounded inside a very defined emotion. And then they floated out of my mouth without a premeditation or a thought that existed before it. And those words, I can remember it very clearly. And it was with Josh the night before he left to go to do Lost. That's where I want my actors to be. Ground them inside of an emotion, and they can go anywhere as long as they're feeling that emotion, feeling that joyful love or that tragic pain. They're not just feeling it; they are. It is connected inside them, like an
anchor.
Yeah, like an anchor.
Well, yes, and those are really important lessons, because how you're existing is very secondary at action to the words that you're saying, and so how you're existing trumps any words that you're saying. So the script at action is not even relevant. It's what you're moving through the space to need the words that are on the page.
Isn't that true about life?
Yeah, it is.
Well, yeah, because we're not speaking unless we need to. But when we get to be actors, somehow the actor gets confused and starts putting the writer's words ahead of his own existence, and that's completely backwards. Well, listen, so many wonderful things we're touching. We're touching on the essence of why this film Tinker is awesome, and looking forward to the next things that you do, and throwing little pearls out and amongst our audience to our graduate level frickin' advanced filmmakers that have some insight.
And I was sitting there thinking, is everybody going to understand what we're talking about?
Understand what the F you're talking about, but
sometimes it just needs to float over you.
In the real,
we need to let this guy
it's like
take over
Tinker.
a little bit.
You actually might have to go back over this 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
to be
this
able to absorb
interview.
it.
I'm excited to. Yeah, I'm excited
Well,
to see
listen,
the movie again.
the movie on the big screen is going to be crazy good. But you have a platform here. You have people listening and people watching. Several thousand people will see it before we get to the next one. Is there something that you would like to share with your audience other than the time and space? I mean, realize that you have a captive audience.
What are you looking for? What do you need? How can we support you?
Oh gosh, that's a producer question.
Well, what's really important, obviously, is that we did this for people. We did this for fathers. We did this for, children that are orphaned. We did this for grandparents that are taking on, grandchildren. But we also wanted to make sure that, the message got out. I've learned how difficult it is to get a good movie, a film out to the public. And we're blessed right now that, it drops on DVD, December the 4th. It hit, a top 50 in Amazon pre-sales. We were ranking top in iTunes downloads, and we haven't even had the first press release. It was
no P&A budget.
No P&A budget. No, So the biggest thing that we really, the biggest thing that we want is we just want people to be able to connect to it. So, is it going to be something that, 2 years, 3 years from now, that somebody might end up sharing it with a family member, and they'll sit down and feel like, I'm not that, nothing is really wrong with me. I'm not, I'm unique, but I'm not broken. I'm depressed, but I'm not hopeless. And I want them to understand that really is important, to understand who you are. And for me, it's also whose you are, because you don't live this life for you. You can't live this life for you. You've got to live it for, your friends. You got to live it for your family. You got to live it for the stranger. I love people. I don't like to speak negative. I don't like the negative energy. I don't like drama. I don't deal with it. I've got a swear jar in my office. Some people come in with a folded up 10. I'm like, bad day.
Well, even before we have a cup of coffee, he says a little prayer, and that's awesome.
You gotta think of thanks.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot in that. Anything else you got to say, Sonny?
December 4th.
To the creatives. What's December
4th? We're at the Limley. We're
Limley in Pasadena.
Yeah.
We put it on here.
We're here. We're live. We're at the Limley, and
after party.
It's a film that's not just for you. It's for your family. It's not just something that you got to escape your kids for. We have children. We have people that are on the spectrum that have loved it. We've had children with autism that have came to us and just like they really connected with either the science or the details. But at the same time, we want them to come take a look at it. Come see it. Give it a shot.
It's safe to say that if you see this film, it's going to raise your joy score.
It will raise your joy score. It is a timeless movie.
After part, timeless is the only way to have a movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, you can definitely
ding, ding.
watch. No, I think you succeeded in that, because I'm looking forward just to seeing it again, because I know there's something more.
Yeah.
We have people. Matter of fact, just this past weekend, we had people see it for their fourth time, and they were like, when we no longer trying to look past the original storyline, the original acting, we saw so many layers that actually is represented, and that's. Hey, look, if they've got people seeing it 3 or 4 times right now and connecting with it, I think we've done our job. I think we're touching people.
You have what? Were you going to say?
I'm smiling.
No, well, listen. So you're clearly looking for other scripts to do, or do you probably have your own concepts that you're developing? But if some writer out there has a piece of material they want to send to you, what is it, Creole Productions?
You go ahead and send it to info@cocreo. That's KOCREO.com. And that's Cocreo Productions, basically.
Yeah, and I've read 17 scripts over the past few months.
So guys, they're actively looking for a movie to do. So
absolutely,
they're a hot commodity, and they've finished this one, and they're rolling around and wallowing around in the joy of finishing something. But they're looking to get back to work. So maybe your script could be the next one. So send it to them. Talk to these guys. They're very available.
I will say, make sure it's meaningful. Life is short.
Oh, that's all right. You got Sonny. He'll read it. He'll make it meaningful.
Yeah. Life is short. We don't want to do something that really doesn't have meaning or doesn't have a lasting impact.
Yeah, and you can send it through JoyScore. Well, that's how Coast to Coast does it. They say, send it to the Coast to Coast link, and we'll send it to them.
No, send it to you guys.
Okay.
Send it to you guys.
We'll evaluate its JoyScore, and then we'll pass it on.
Yeah.
You send it to me to rewrite if you need.
Yeah. Well, you two are a lot alike in that. Like this, you will put the work into the writing. I mean, when we were just doing the Portalist not too long ago, and the amount of hours that you spent writing,
right,
truly working, and you call me and I would do, I probably put in 11 hours, but those 11 hours are pretty good, but.
Yeah, but 20 hours of headspace, 11 hours of working, right?
Yeah, about 20 hours of headspace, 11 hours working.
Maybe 100 hours of headspace, who knows?
Yeah, probably. But the work that you put in your writing, the work you put in with the producing, it's just put the work in, and you'll go anywhere you want to go.
Well, Sonny, you're a catalyst to any writer because you're a visual extravaganza. So when you see something, you already see layers, and when you convey those layers to a writer, you give them insight into what's there, and it makes it a lot of fun for whoever gets the opportunity to work with you. So.
It makes me feel better to have someone else's story given to me, and someone trust me with that story to now bring it. Create something, bring it to life on the piece of paper
this was a battle for him because it was a story this was his story, and so he was super passionate about it.
Yeah,
and then
I
I came in with some with ideas and with props and with I wanted floating water, and we don't have that, unfortunately.
Floating water. Is this water floating naturally?
Actually, yeah, it does.
I wanted floating water.
Oh, above ground, like levitating water.
Like a frequency flow.
Okay.
But I mean,
you can reverse water.
Yeah, of course.
So I mean, I wanted these things, but but it was his story, and and there was these elements, but I wanted to bring in something to go, okay, let's go ahead and ground this to where yet the simple mind can go ahead and enjoy this.
Well, there's a lot of emotion. It was therapeutic for me to write this. There was a lot of things.
And we would spoon feed it.
Yeah.
I get so sick and tired of
his mind goes off into layers that would represent more of a novel than a script. So you got to take the notes and then structure it within the context of the circumstances, and then it kind of makes sense. And as long as he can recognize the suggestion in there, then he can actually add it to what's happening on the set.
Yeah.
And that's all screenwriting is. It's a freaking big bare bones outline for a bunch of creatives to come in there and put meat on it.
Yep.
So the slightest little clue can be interpreted in one way, which can take the thing into a whole nother direction visually, or what the set designer does, or what the camera does, or what lenses you choose. So it's very nuanced.
Yeah. Hinge that stone circle.
That's right.
And build those people around you. They're all creating with you.
Yep.
And they all have their strengths, and you have your strength, and that's how it works. There's no other way.
Making movies, baby. Making movies.
Making movies.
Making movies. Well, listen, it's been what? What? Oh, his grandmother's interesting phenom.
Oh, yeah. She is Jeannie Greening.
Jeannie Greening?
Yeah,
Grandma?
Greening Healing.
Greening?
Grandma Greening, yeah. Greening Healing Technique. She does quantum biofeedback, Reiki Master. She is 84 now, and she has been a healer for 50 years, her whole life. That is how she has supported herself, by healing others. And I used to travel around with her as a kid, and I would go from my mom partying on the beach with Jimmy Buffett and a big, bag of white stuff. And I was 8 years old, and then Jeannie come pick me up and take me on the road, and we would do, tarot cards at night, and I would meet all these cool shamans during the day when she was a master speaker at the metaphysics convention here and there. But Jeannie's a very powerful woman who has studied with a lot of very powerful shamans around the world, and her faith is in Jesus Christ per se. And this is a misconception with religion, spirituality, and all, whatever. But there's not that much difference between a man who has a foundation in God that has created this home that I respect so much, watching him with his family. I respect it so much, and I know that the foundation is in God. And my grandmother, the way she raised me was, there's the universe is full of magic and full, but it all boils down to love. So I spent years asking that question, what is love, and different interviews and stuff, but there's no difference. It's yeah.
What is love, Sonny?
Yes.
It's anonymous.
What is love?
Anonymous.
It's anonymous.
What is it? Seek. Stay present with it for a moment. Take a second.
Man. Okay.
What is love? What is love? Drum roll, please.
The ability to love yourself.
Come on, man. You've asked the question 1,000 times.
I know it's because I've never had the answer. That's why I ask it. To me, the love is when a gesture of love is anonymous. So you don't need credit. You have no expectations. So you give without conditions.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a gesture of love. But love itself it's the creation of life. It's the purpose of life. It's the driving force of life. It's everything. It's the sun loves us because it rises.
He's always asked that question too, and the answers we've gotten over the years has been awesome,
amazing.
And it's always different for
what
different
is love
people.
for you?
Ooh, love for me is joy, and what I mean by that is that it's not about money, it's not about wealth, it's not about fame. It's about having an inner peace with yourself when you're alone, when you're the truth to yourself, and being able to accept it. Because we aren't who we want to be right now. And next year, we're not going to be who we want to be then. It's that constant growing. It's that constant yearning to be better, in my opinion. And then through being better, being able to make a difference, help people, and having that peace inside. That's, I get love from Christ. And that is an unconditional. It doesn't have to do with time. We talked about this earlier. It doesn't have to do with mass, and it doesn't have to do with matter or space. It has nothing to do with any of those physical properties, because it is existent well before that. Well before.
Equanimity.
All we are here right now is we're just able to consume it.
So
if we get it, and we do. Animals do. You have a pet. You have puppies. You have mama grizzly bears. You can't tell me that some of that thing is just habit, it's just DNA, it's just nature, because it's way above what our little puny brains can comprehend.
Well, trees, plants, they send out so much love.
To one another. An old growth tree is
totally.
is
look.
Yeah.
Hit her with it.
Yeah.
And what's happening right now is just devastating, because these forest fires and and that darkness that falls on us. But you know what? 20 years from now, there's going to be growth. There's fresh growth from that. So even with broken bones, you get, you heal.
Well, the spirits are freed. I mean, even a 5,000-year-old tree wants to be free at some point.
What is love, Suzanne?
Yeah, what is love, Suzanne?
What is love? Love for me is unconditional. It's equanimous. It's compassion. It's service and action. And it's not at all conditional.
Can I say what my 8-year-old son said? That was beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
My 8-year-old son, this was his answer. What is love, Max? And he says, I think love is when you can be happy and sad at the same time.
Aww.
I thought that was such a beautiful answer.
I think it's beautiful. And Thomas,
he basically just hit
Tom.
Love is bittersweet. That's what
Yeah, right.
he's going to be a good rom-com guy.
I'm trying not to be ahead of myself. I brought the question back around, but I don't want to preconceive the. In class, we used to have these symposiums on love, just as a exploration on Valentine's Day. So every Valentine's Day class fell on Valentine's Day. It was a symposium of love, because in our craft, it's an extraordinary exploration in what we do to kind of look at what love is. And as I sit here now, without a definitive answer, I feel like you do, Suzanne, that it's an action. Love defined is an action. And it's the ability to harmonize circumstances. The ability to be in a condition, a state, where you can see what's needed and serve it in a way where it makes it more balanced.
Compassion.
And so love is not for everybody from that definition is probably the thing I'm struggling with, because it takes a unique individual to be steady enough to truly love and to take an action that actually harmonizes and balances
for the benefit of all.
For a unification or a re-verification that this energy is here to help us enjoy whatever this moment is. So
Absolutely.
So for me, I think that's where love falls. And on that, I love you guys. and this whole thing has been a wonderful exchange, and I'm so glad you were able to take the time from your busy schedules, from promoting your film, to come down here to JoyScore. And JoyScore is blessed to have had you and all of your pearls of wisdom. And thank you.
Glad to be here, for sure.
Yeah. You know, it's really a dream of mine. It's just shocking to see you, and like you're here.
I know.
This is exciting.
I know. You're out of my life, and so I'm so excited about the screening. And for those of you, like I said, Tinker's at the Lemley at the
in Pasadena.
In Pasadena, what's it called? The
Playhouse 7.
Playhouse 7. There's still tickets available, I would imagine. They're showing all day long. And see this beautiful film. It'll raise your joy score. It'll
pay my rent.
It'll pay Sonny's
Well, you're
rent.
gonna want a copy. It's a copy for your library.
Thomas, whenever you get a chance, push a button, play something.
Push the trailer again, the Tinker trailer.
And we're gonna watch the Tinker.
It's the guy on the porch.
The Tinker trailer.
Don't need to worry about what I do with that boy. He's obsessing over that blasted machine.
Why won't you work?
I bet I could fix it.
These crystals were my father's. Crystals hold energy. If you learn to listen, you can hear their sounds.
You look to the stars. A lot of people say fools look to the stars.
This could emit an energy field that goes on not just for miles, but hundreds of miles. It's not about blood. It's about accepting an opportunity to do what's right by another human being. I can accept that same responsibility and do what's right.
We're here today because your sister Marianne Corrigan passed away. Now, it's up to you whether or not you want to be Kyle's guardian.
What happens to him if I don't take him?
We'll place him inside of foster care.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll take him, yeah.
Perfect.
Who's that guy outside?
He's just a fella to help me out with a few things around the house.
Who's just this?
That's my daddy's.
Where's your daddy?
He ain't around anymore.
Is he where my mother is?
Can you do that for me?
I can give it a shot.
I don't like living with Grady. He never plays with me. He's always in the workshop or away.
God! Get away from there! You need to do that boy the same way. You don't need to worry about what I do with that boy.
He's obsessing over that blasted machine.
Why won't you work?
I bet I could fix it.
These crystals were my father's. Crystals hold energy. If you learn to listen, you can hear their sounds.
You look to the stars. A lot of people say fools look to the stars.
This could emit an energy field that goes on not just for miles, but hundreds of miles.
Hey, welcome back to JoyScore. What an evening, Suzanne.
What an evening. Amazing adventure.
What an amazing little
Adversity
adventure.
to love.
Adversity to love. That kind of sums it up, right? I mean, you can see why Sonny and Tom are going to go on to make at least a dozen more brilliant films because of where they're putting their emphasis. And they're interested in that human connection and what makes us tick as people at the base. And so, just looking forward to being a part of that journey however I can, whether they're coming on here and need a platform to put it out on, or whether we're writing something for them or get to co-direct with this kid. I'm really just looking forward to seeing what they come up with next.
Yeah. Well, and I think that to be noted for all people that are creating anything is that sometimes the time and space, like they spent the time and space to let it keep evolving and creating, and sometimes we want things like, and they stuck through it. Like they shot more, they massaged and all that stuff.
Well, as you know, I mean, there's like 10, 12 steps to getting a film out there.
Yeah, we're still in the middle of one.
Each step feels like each step feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Each step is a tricky.
I think that space gives you a vantage, a perspective where you're like, oh wow, if we'd done it then, now it's different. And maybe for like even for them, the market wouldn't have been ready for them 2 or 3 years ago, and now people are ready to sip up the topics they have. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, it is an exciting time, and Danielle brought lots of wisdom about being that person that sticks up for people. It's kind of like she's like the moral police. You have a problem, you feel less than, come to me. I'll talk to you. I'll take the time and help you understand where you're at in time and space, so you can feel safe.
Right.
I mean,
listening.
And she's just so like I feel like I didn't get to the bottom of that deepness there. I feel like I was just scratching the surface. I was a little frustrated I couldn't get to really the essence of what motivated her, or what motivates her. And well,
I think it is the justice. I think listening and hearing someone she
is like a superhero. She's another one of these social superheroes, and we've had several of them come in here, and each one has their own way in which they go about being social advocates and helping people, whether they're setting up educational facilities for people, or whether they're doing helping elephants or doing dog beauty contests, or however they're entertaining their captive audience based on what they need, you know. And
well, and that's an example of love in action. Like being in service is to love, you know. So she's passionate about helping the kids that are bullied or the adults that are bullied and giving people perspective. It's pretty powerful work, you know. Her life work.
It seems like she's, you know, hopefully she pulls a tremendous amount of joy and satisfaction out of that, because she's very intense, and you could see her eyes furrow at even the thought of somebody being unjustly taken advantage of, and how that bothers her to her core. So we're Americans are good people, and at our core we're good.
Americans, all people. How about humans?
I don't know about all humans, but I mean, generally speaking, I think this country has an innate sense of itself, and when push comes to shove, it will always do the right thing. I feel like it's got a conscience. I feel like when, you know, we're challenged with something, people rise up and are more than willing to lend a hand and to step forward and to help the brother or the sister next to them. I totally feel that, and
I think that's true of humanity. Like I've traveled all over the world, and I see people that are gracious and caring and embrace. But you wouldn't think that in a country of privilege that would be the case, but it is. It is the case. Well, absolutely. I think also in a country, a modernized culture, there's a lot of people that suffer internally, and so therefore that propensity to give and do for others helps raise their joy score. That brings them into service and helps them.
Yes. And you can tell these filmmakers are just loving what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, they're at the end of they get to sort of soak up the accolades and get to see who's going to give them the money for the next thing that they do. And so you can see how empowered, and you can see the lights that have gone off in their heads in terms of, yes, we can do this. Yes, this is something that I love. Yes, this is something that I'm in for the long haul. This is just something I can't imagine being without.
Yeah.
Those two guys. And quite a journey.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for being here, Suzanne.
Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for being here. It's been a joy.
Listen, we got some wonderful guests coming up for you. We got Coca Vinny. I know
Coca
we got
Vinny.
Coca Vinny, who's an amazing ukulele player, just brings joy wherever he goes. But
David Zimmerman.
Oh, David Zimmerman, who's one of these.
Couple of yogis.
I know we got a singer coming in.
A business yogi seva being a Taoist Chinese doctor, musician.
Right.
And we have a lot of fun.
If you feel like catching up on any of these other shows where we have a whole lineup of different athletes and actors and Oscar nominees, and go to JoyScoreInc and go to the videos, and you'll be able to find all of these.
Yeah, like our page, sharing is caring. Share the videos.
If there's a special interest in those videos that you think somebody might care about, share it with them. There's a wonderful insight that these.
And sign up at joyscore.co. We'll let you know when the app is ready. It's getting
That's right.
ready.
We have an app that's close to being done. So
and the other products, the books, the animations, the games.
We have 3 books. We got books for you, animation, games, so much going on here at JoyScore. Thank you, Dr. Bob, for allowing this to happen. Thank you, Thomas, back there, for being our technical, making it happen.
Until next time.
Sign off. JoyScore. Raise your joy scores, people. Thank you.
Don't need to worry about what I do with that boy. He's obsessing over that blasted machine.
Why won't you work?
I bet I could fix it.
These crystals were my father's. Crystals hold energy. If you learn to listen, you can hear their sounds.
They look to the stars. A lot of people say fools look to the stars.
This could emit an energy field that goes on not just for miles, but hundreds of miles.